Wait for YouTube to catch up. It always takes 30-ish seconds or so. You know how it is. Let's see. Let's make sure this is all good.
How's the Intuos treating you, Kenny?
All right. It's been good. I mean, it's pretty seamless now, you know. I think as a whole, right? It's pretty much like back to normal now. I think what I switched from Cintiq. I think it was like February, right? It was during what was that? What was that? GDC. It was during GDC that I switched to it. So it was probably like February-ish or March or whatever it was. And yeah, now it's good. I don't really miss it. There's little things here and there that are like you know, I kind of wish that drawing was maybe a little bit easier, but at this point, it's like, you know, it's not really the tablet at this point.
There are some people like Fang develop a whole kind of like very loose, natural style out of the Intuos. Like I can tell by looking at his pieces the way he's holding his hand and like he's not going for precision exactly.
Yeah.
I don't know. It can have a really interesting aesthetic.
Yeah, I think like I think maybe because like I don't know, there's uh I guess a tendency for your lines to be maybe not as precise as you want in the beginning phases of like drawing with it, right? It's like there is a disconnect, right, between like, you know, let's say you're drawing traditional or even Cintiq. And then I guess a looser kind of style naturally develops. And then, you know, as you get better, you just kind of figure out ways around it. Like it was cool. I was having trouble drawing, right? And luckily for me, I don't really draw that much in my, I guess, normal day-to-day work, right? Generally speaking, people hire me for paintings, right? Or I can get away with doing paintings. And then I had an assignment once, I think it was like August or something like that. And I was like kind of complaining about my line drawing. I was like, man, I should probably do something about this, you know, because it's, you know, it's not that I can't do it. It's just definitely not comfortable. And then I got an assignment from Netflix, and they were like, "Hey, you know, can you help us out with these character line drawings?" Which is definitely what I'm known for. But you know, I did it, and then after that, it was good. Like we're set now because I can do super precise line work again. It took a second, a little longer than usual to kind of get those done, but you know, it was just a little uncomfortable. And I kept telling me, I kept telling myself that I was like, oh, Dave can do it. Like you know, I know all these other artists that can like draw way better than I can with a tablet. So I was like, well, I guess I can't complain. So.
Yeah, yeah. That's super interesting. Charles Lynn told me, he said just zoom in a little bit. Like, you know, zoom in a little bit and let your hand do more of the work. I thought that was an interesting tip.
Yeah, I think because like we're used to like I guess the precision, right? That you have with I guess it's just drawing, and then you know when you're you know when it's in front of you it's direct contact, whether it's Cintiq or paper. Like it's I don't know, it's easy, but then you know whenever you I guess switch to tablet, there's that disconnect. And yeah, I did same thing for me. I zoomed in like 400%, and then I just you know made bigger strokes. I think drawing bigger helped just because all those little wobbles and imperfections kind of show up a lot less, right? And as you zoom out, they basically disappear. So, but yeah, it's been good. I actually like it now. I do prefer it. I don't think I'm ever going back. You know, just because I like the ability to like kind of get up and just go to a cafe or something. Because I think something that happened before was like I would be I would like want to work somewhere else, like because you know being at home all day kind of sucks sometimes, and I'll want to go to a cafe and then you know you can't because if you go to a cafe you can't bring your Cintiq, and if I don't have my Cintiq, the quality of work is just going to be trash. That or I'm painting with a mouse, which you know definitely don't want to do. But now it's been great. You know I can leave, I can go on vacation, I can be out of town, and it's been good. So for anybody like struggling with that, and, you know, if traveling is like kind of in your, you know, mind and you want to do that, and drawing isn't like, I guess, critical, right? If you're like somebody that's like super heavy line work and like you know, you need to be able to do this, or you know, it's I don't know. There's something about a Cintiq that you just can't disconnect. Yeah, you know, whatever. But if you're somebody that's like, you know, you probably paint more often than not, or even using like 3D and stuff. You don't need a Cintiq. Just save the money. Put it in stocks or something. I don't know. So cool. Well, with that in mind, guys, welcome to session 8. So we're going to cover some homework in a second. But I just wanted to, talk about some, I guess, announcements or just general things to talk about in the beginning. This is the last session of the year of 2023. We're going to be starting up again in January 9th. So I think it's like 2 weeks or 3 weeks from now. Have a good holiday, everybody. Take a good break, see your family, right? You probably shouldn't be painting stuff. You can if you want, but take the break, right? And I do really. The reason we've had so many breaks this past couple weeks is, it's something where yes, you can draw and paint, the whole time, and I'm not saying I do or don't. But taking that break, hanging out with friends, getting refreshed, going to see a movie, right? If you guys haven't seen Godzilla -1, go check that out. It's pretty cool. So we're going to be taking a break for a couple weeks for, certain religious birthdays coming up in the next week or two, and then New Year's after that. So with that in mind, a couple format changes. We're probably going to be changing the timing on the live streams coming up in that next year. I haven't quite decided yet because now I'm going to be changing the format slightly. Right, it's going to be every month. There's going to be some sort of topic. Right, you can join in my Discord to kind of participate in those. I will be giving feedback just like I am now, but it'll be on a shorter time scale. So if you have been a little bit nervous to kind of jump in, or you're somebody that you're like, oh, I don't really have anything to show, and they're already at week 6 or whatever it is. Every month we'll have a 4 to 5 week topic. I'll adjust that according to whatever months are longer or shorter, and hopefully you can kind of jump in. You can learn something. The first couple weeks are going to be covering some sort of topic to kind of get you to that end point. And then the last couple weeks are going to be me kind of walking through, doing the assignment, just like I have been here. And hopefully by the end of it, we have something cool basically every month, right? But there is going to be a couple slight changes, right? I will still be giving feedback, but I won't be doing it live, right? I do get a decent amount of people sending me stuff in the back end. So, it's just as a whole, it seems like, I guess getting feedback live on the internet for the world to see might be a little scary. So we're going to do that as a private session. We're going to do that in the Discord. I'll record it for those that can't make it, type of thing. So it'll be the same format. If you're in that, you'll have a link to see your recording just like usual. It just won't be on the live stream portion. That way we can kind of separate the two. And then with that, the live streams will probably be a little bit shorter, right? So that feedback time, it's going to be 3 hours total, but live will be probably 2 hours is what I'm thinking. I haven't fully decided yet. We'll get to that when we get to that. But yeah, so with that in mind, guys, let's just get started. We'll continue today just like normal. I'd love to do a little bit more of like a Q&A kind of talk, and we're kind of like rendering just a little bit more today, right? Because we have the painting. If you've seen the thumbnail, you've already seen it. I'll show you again once we get there. But we're pretty close. This will be a lot of rendering, a lot of like small little things. So if you guys have any like things that are kind of bugging you, anything you want to talk about for this year, right? Or for your futures coming up, any goals, any things, any suggestions, right? Let's talk about it. So during this feedback session, if you guys are sitting there thinking, maybe think about a question. So with that in mind, let's get started. So Riley is here, so let's do that first. All right. Cool.
Yo, what's up, Kenny?
Yo, how'd it go, dude?
Good. Yeah. Just pushing the design, prop design, like along with the live stream. So I tried to. This is kind of like version 2 of the final 3D render. So I tried to make it more like patchwork. So like I made the different, the side lights like a different metal rusted, and put some like welding on there. And then I want him to, because the main character, and this is your drone, and you're kind of part of like a little gang, that's robbing, because it's Robin Hood and he's Little John. So, I gave him like a gold Cuban link chain,
Dope.
Chappie style, and just wanted to inject a little bit more of that personality, a little bit of spray paint, and the name tag, which you recommended last time, which I liked a lot. And then I built out a little keyframe in 3D, just kind of looking over like the loot table. Made some of these like little energy prism things, which would be like the really valuable asset, to run the energy in the frozen world. And then like some little credit sticks and gun and all the loot table necessities.
Dope. Cool, man. Yeah, dude, this is sick. I think it's nice because like I was saying, where yes, you know what I mean, like the 3D holds up, it looks good, right, where it's like that's pretty sick. But you know what I mean? Like the impact, it's different. It says something else, and there's a character behind it. Like for everyone looking at this, right? You're probably like, you can kind of tell the moment, right? It's that it's the end of the hall. Like they kind of, everything's on the table, and this thing's kind of flying around, and maybe it's kind of goofy or whatever it is. But the whole it's being sold correctly. It's in the context that you would see it in, and you're like, do you like this character? Because that's what it is, right? This drone is a person. So I think this is dope, man. Did you model those Cuban links?
Yeah, I did.
Dude, that's sick. Was that hard? No,
yeah, it wasn't too bad. Like, I have a add-on called Curve Basher,
yeah,
which like allows you to do an array of anything.
yeah.
And so I just had to build two links connected, and it's basically just like a curve, and then you just kind of like angle it so it's kind of like this weird like bent metal, and then just lay them on top of each other, and then you use that add-on and it will just like array it along a curve that you draw.
Yeah.
So then you're good to go once you like get that connection sealed.
Dope, man. That's sick. Well, I think overall it turned out great, man. So I think for me, really it's just, I mean, do you plan on taking this painting further, or are you kind of like where you want it to be right now?
Yeah, so like I do have a character on the side there. I was like planning on having that be like a really like low, like kind of vague version of the main character, because I'm not like a character designer, so just like some guy you can't really see. And then so I'll figure that out later on, and then I'd like to do a little more like detail in the background, keep it like, and then also paint stuff down a little bit. This is like mostly 3D with like just like atmosphere brushing and a few paint strokes, but
yeah,
I would like to bring it further.
Dope. Yeah, man. I think for me, there's really not too much I need to say. I think I did have one question. This, I guess this barrel thing right here. What is that?
It's like a gun.
Okay, cool.
That's on like a arm that can bend. You can kind of see it a little better in the 3D render of the drone, but yeah, it's.
Gotcha.
That could be worked on. I could redo anything.
No, I think the reason I was asking was because I did remember we had a sensor in here, right? Not that I need to see the sensor, but I was like, is that the sensor? Because it was giving off gun vibes. So the fact that it is a gun, that's all that matters. So not really a complaint.
Oh, yeah.
Just remembering some of the that keyframe idea that we had before and stuff like that.
Yeah, the little red dots. I guess they're kind of covered up by his gold chain in this shot. Would be the sensor. So
this right here.
I'm gonna throw him into the tunnel shot still, which I still have the stuff for.
Sick.
And finish that one up as well later. So they'll be shooting out from there.
Dope, man. What kind of thrusters does he have? Is it more of like an energy based one, or is it like propellers?
Those two are both propellers.
Okay.
And then he also has like the little jet system on the back.
Yeah.
If he wants to really get going, but those would be like just hover action.
Sweet. Yeah, man. I mean, not too many complaints on my end. I would just say, right now you have a good lighting setup kind of happening, right? You have the warmer light, the main key light coming from top left, and you have that cooler ambient light coming in from top right. I would probably just start finding excuses to kind of get those like a third rim light type of thing. Like you have a little bit of that from the red, which is nice. Maybe cheating in some of these blues or, that's all rendering stuff. Really not a big complaint for me, man. It's nice. I think the keyframe looks nice, right? It's cool because we get just enough of this prop or this design, and then now it's like cool, the turnaround phase, right? Because that's the beauty of this, where when you present this, you're gonna present it like this probably, where it's like, oh, here's the thing. And then here's the turnaround pages. There's the front, back, 3/4, top view, side view, whatever, right? And that's all easy. And that's like once they like it, because this is like that, like you were saying, that chappy moment, right? Where we just have a really nice, I guess, moment or just something to help describe more than the design, because the design, little things like that people can overlook a lot when it comes to tiny designs, but it's that moment that really sells it. So yeah, great job, dude. This is sick.
Awesome. Thanks a lot, Kenny.
Yeah, man. Yeah, not too many crits. Just paint whatever it is you're trying to do, and then what I would probably go from here, right? Because you have your drone design. Maybe start figuring out other parts of your scene, right? Because you have the drone, and then in that tunnel alone, you have the tunnel. Then you have the guy, and maybe even like showing us, like, since you have the model of this stuff. Showing us what those credits and stuff look like, or what are all those things. Line them all up on a page, because like that alone, because you created the whole scene, just line them up, paint them down, give them textures, or do whatever you need to do to them, and that's your presentation.
Sweet. I was wondering, since I'm trying to go for environment design, and the reason I did the drone is because I also want to show like some hard surface design ability, because I feel like those are kind of interchangeable a little bit.
Yeah.
Is it cool to, like, if my character is just like more generic, like not so, I don't know, you know what I mean? Like, I mean, I could put a lot of time into trying to like, get a character with some 3D and painting and design, but it's not as much of a focus for me.
Yeah, so the way I would generally speaking go about it, right? Because you have a character like straight up in your scene, I'd probably do like, one view of him, just like a him posed or whatever, right? Like kind of describing that I guess gear mostly, right? Because like, for example, let's see, let me show you. Not that this is like a super in-depth portfolio thing, but just, like on my website, we did this this racing game, and it's about the vehicles, right? It's about the things, and then I happen to have a front view and a back 3/4, and even then, the back 3/4 is mostly about a prop, right?
Right. Mm-hmm.
So it's like, it's not that, because I would never call myself a character designer, but you do want to show that you're able to, the very least, create like NPC types, because sure. we still have to paint it. So focus more on the design of the suit, more of the design of the stuff, and you don't have to give extensive turnarounds and close-ups of the things that you're not comfortable with. But I still would, though, just because as a designer in general, they usually, whenever you go to a job or whatever, it's usually like, hey, we're hiring you for environment designs, but can you do characters at all, right? Because you might have to step in every once in a while or whatever, and it just helps out. So you already kind of have one. You need it for your keyframe anyway. Just put like 20% emphasis, 80% on the drone / environment,
Sure. Cool. Yeah, sounds good. Thanks.
Sweet. Yeah, great job, dude. Keep it up.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. All right. Let's see what else we got. Let's do Alex first, since he submitted earlier than Matthias. Right. Let me go read Alex's thing real quick. Pretty sure. Wait, hold up. Where are we? 7. Hi Kenny, here's my main asset rendered in Blender. I was thinking about adding some more set dressing pieces in 3D, like the mana globes, and perhaps blocking in some of the main buildings. / other props, but wonder if this is far enough to start painting. I plan to add figures to guide the interest to the loading / unloading of the cargo, as trading is an important aspect of the game, alongside exploration. Looking forward to catching up the live stream later tomorrow. Yeah, so this is dope, dude. I think as a whole, this is looking pretty sick. There are a couple things that I probably want you to add, but we'll talk about that, right? So in terms of painting and stuff, this is perfect, right? This is probably even further than you probably needed to, just because, I mean, depending on, you know, what you want, right, out of your final result. But I think, you know, I think it's looking pretty good. I would say, you know, because you have this scene, right? Yeah, those smaller props definitely, like, you know, because clearly it looks like you understand modeling to a degree, right? To a certain degree, to, you know, to build all this. So I would probably do those props too. You know, use it to set dress your scene a little bit. Because your scene, if I remember correctly, you know, there's like that table right here. You get that prop, and then there's like other stuff in the scene, and there's that whole awning area. A lot of that stuff is you know, you can definitely model that because you're probably gonna have to design it anyway, right? Because like we're talking about, we have the keyframe here, and you have the main asset, which is in this case the ship, and which is what you're doing. But you know, the secondary things, just like what we're talking about with Riley, where we have like the stuff on the table or the dude suit, various things like that. You're gonna need that anyway, because you know, we're trying to design everything in that keyframe, or not everything, at least the main things in that keyframe. So I definitely would. It depends on what you want to do. I would probably do those designs first, right? Like address everything, get it to the same level. Because me personally, I like staying in the same kind of mindset. If I'm modeling, staying in that modeling mindset. That way, you know, you know, maybe I'm crazy, I don't know, but I do move a little bit quicker when I'm just constantly kind of doing the same things. And then we shift gears to painting, and then you can kind of just go from there versus having to jump back and forth, essentially. So that's what I would do. I would have all that, probably do one or two buildings, some generic buildings, right? Some of those close-up props, like you were saying, the mana spheres, mana globes, and maybe some of those crates and stuff like that would be great. Even like having close-ups of like some of these barrels, you know, or whatever, you know, other props that you have in the scene can really help out. And then after that, yeah, just start painting it up. So with that in mind, this looks great, dude. I'm wondering, because I think right now, I think the design looks pretty cool, right? Just so moving from, I guess, doing, you know, adding all the other models and stuff. You know, I think what I'm probably responding to right now would be trying to figure out the design of like this wing, right? Because you know, all the entire weight of this, like all of this, right, is like on that one stick. You know what I mean? Or like the two sticks. So you could do a couple things. It just depends on how you want to go about this. Because right now, if you think about the logic of this this paddle, it looks like a paddle, to be completely honest, right? Which is a great reference, right? But you know, looking at this, you have this stick kind of going inside. Like, let's assume that there's a person rowing in it, or rowing it, right? There's like people that, you know I'm talking, like a Viking ship type of thing, where they're all rowing, right? That'd be super sick. But they're all inside there, right? Which is great. But you only have two, and it moves kind of slow. But what if you had like 4 per side? You know what I mean? And you can like feel, like you could see that whole thing kind of moving. It just kind of like waves, and like they're kind of rowing, and you know what I mean? That could be kind of cool. Or you can maybe think about reinforcing this somehow, because right now maybe this is just the joint, right? Where it's like, this is the pivot point. There's this like that ball and socket right there. And then maybe there's something inside of here, but maybe there's like other stuff out here that can like attach to this part of the wing. And then, you know, it can like pull and like, you know, like these kind of ropes and stuff, and ropes and pulleys and stuff. And it can kind of like flap these wings for them, right? Using other mechanisms. So basically what I'm trying to say is the design at its current stage feels a bit flimsy, right? And it's like, it's fine to have, you know, smaller connection points like that when you have a lot of them, right? Which, you know, usually helps create that sense of like, okay, cool, it's not all just balanced on one stick, right, or two sticks, or create a more visible system that would be paddling these wings, or it would be flapping, or whatever they're doing, right? Because it just creates a more believable object, right? So I guess that would be the first thing. And then after that, what I'd probably do is figure out some sort of base, right? Where it's like, you know, you have this design here, which looks pretty sick, right? But now it's like, it's just kind of like on the ground. I mean, I'm seeing these posts right here kind of holding it all up, which is dope. But, you know, if this is a dock, right, and they're kind of like repairing this ship, or they're doing whatever to it, there's usually like a spot, right? There's usually like some sort of platform that this whole thing kind of rests on, and you can maybe even design out like the holds where it's like, maybe it's kind of, there's a hole right there where this stick is inserted, and then it holds up the ship a little more sturdy. You know what I mean? And there's like a couple of them. You know, you kind of see it throughout, and then they're all like on some sort of platform. Maybe there's like stairs, or maybe there's even like an unloading system where there's, you know, like a plank of wood. Think like old ships. To get from the top to down, there was some sort of like board or kind of thing that kind of helps them get down, whatever, right? But the whole point is we're trying to think through the believability of this thing, because right now it looks great. I think a lot of this stuff looks pretty sick. It's going in a really good direction. Now just kind of bring back some of that believability. Me personally, I am leaning towards these like multiple wing ideas, just because like, I don't know, I could see it like kind of moving in like this kind of like, I don't know, this weird like kind of wave pattern. You know, I don't know how realistic that is, but I like the whimsicality of like this, where it feels like there's somebody inside rowing it or whatever. But you know, I think it just needs that little bit more believability / reference to real life, right? Because in real life we have something like this. It's just, you know, there's like a bunch of people, think like a row team or something like that, right? So, but dope. I think overall, yeah, I would probably model everything else out, address some of those model things in this model here. Like, we want to see it the way that it's supposed to be seen, right? It's seen being fixed, or, you know what I mean? We're trying to present it in a nice kind of established form. So once you get that, you'll be in a good spot, man. So yeah, great job. This is looking cool. All right. All right, Mattia says, hello, Kenny. To get to the design of the arena where the shamans fight, I decided to first explore a little how these people build their houses. This design is a small cafe, is located within the town where the shamans can go to relax when they are not in battle. My reference board is big port city convenience store, medium windowy mushroom. I added the terrain I painted for the previous scene. To tie the story together. I was going to change the mood and maybe paint it like a sunset before going to the final battle or something similar. Thank you very much for this instance, and my feedback is highly appreciated. Cool. Dope, man. That's looking cool. Let's see. Oops. So you said Port City convenience store. Windowy mushroom. I think I know what you're talking about. Those like diorama, like mushroom or houses things. I think I know what you're talking about. Oh, is that weave? That's cool. Like a weaved basket. That's sick. Yeah, buddy. Did you draw that? No, you probably did. Yeah, I'm seeing the repeat. Nice. Good job, dude. We don't draw it more than once, right? Cool. Yeah, man. I mean, I think I like where it's going. So, let's see. What I would probably do. Let me see. Let me check your reference board real quick. It should be an assignment too. There you go. Did I have it here? I'm trying to find the reference that you were using. It's that Port City right there. You're looking at like tribal stuff too. Oh, is it this windowy mushroom? Is that what you're talking about? Gotcha. Cool. So, the reason I bring this up, right, is because, you know, just getting some of those shapes to kind of match up, and then finding like the structure, right? I think like this stuff right here looks pretty cool. I think something that's happening is because it feels like straight up like, you know, all basket weave. I think finding that balance of like where they use some of this, like, I don't know, I'm not sure if it's wood, because right here it feels like wood, but here it doesn't. But whatever material this is, like trying to find that balance between this material, and that material, right? So I think it looks good. I think I don't really have too many issues with it. I'm wondering what this is, because it looks like, I mean, it's kind of open, so it looks like something can like fly in. You know what I mean? It looks like maybe like messenger birds or something can go around or something like that. I'm not sure, but you know, I think having designs like that, giving them a function, especially in a building, because, you know, like you got to imagine like building this, right? You know, when you build this, or when in real life, if someone were to build this, it's a lot of like, you know, they've got to like, they did it for a reason, you know? So just think about that. I think as a whole, like I like the idea. It's coming out well. This is cool. I like the platform and stuff. It's a cafe, you said, right? See again. Yeah, small cafe located within the town. They'll relax when they're not in battle. Dude, what kind of cafe are we thinking about? Right? Do they serve coffee? Do they, you know, it's like, I think something that I'm seeing here which is working pretty well, right? Is that, you know, generally speaking, you can kind of tell that it's like some sort of restaurant / customer serving place, right? Because, you know, that's clear. But what I am wondering is how do we show more of that, like, you know, cafe aspect? You know, because there's like, I don't want to say like hookah cafes, right? But there's like, you know what I mean? Like they have a certain aesthetic to it, right? And then there's, you know, like coffee cafes, and there's like breakfast type cafes, like, you know, one food related, one drink related, and like just trying to like figure that out. What kind of symbolism can you create? What kind of things can you do to make this feel like, you know, whatever it is? Oftentimes like set dressing this with like steam, like there's like stuff, there's like, you know, there's a fire kind of going on inside. They're using it to cook whatever. They're boiling stuff, you know, stuff like that I think could be pretty cool. But as a whole, dude, I think the building looks great. I really don't have too many complaints about it. It's mostly just giving us a stronger identity, right? And then trying to find out, like, I think some of these banners and stuff are kind of cool, but it's like there to kind of be there. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like, for example, this feels like a grand opening kind of like flag situation. You know, when you see a place like a shop that has a grand opening, right? And there's like little streamers that kind of lead back to, you know, the entrance. Generally speaking, it kind of goes out like that or whatever, right? Just imagine this is like off camera or something. And there's like more around that kind of show off this space a little bit better, right? But this one is like there's just one. You know, I'd imagine maybe there's like two, or maybe there's like more in the back, kind of bringing us in, but really creating like some sort of symmetry and lead us to this spot, right? And I think a way you could probably do that is by isolating some colors, right? So maybe like this section right here, because you have, you know, this gate right here, essentially is a door, right? And you want people to look there, because if they look there, then they'll know to go there, right? Maybe the color kind of stands out a little more. Maybe the pattern is a little bit different, right? Maybe there's a split in it, and then there's like a very complementary color. Because right now, out of all the blues you have in your scene, from here, 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 right? These places, there's more color variation in those than there is in the actual thing that we're supposed to look at, you know, in terms of like the door, right? So that could help try to bring some attention, because, you know, basically my entire crit really does come down to how do we get people to look, oops, let me do this on a new layer. How do we get people to look right here, right? And that usually comes down to different color variations. Maybe there's like an orangey color that's kind of like whatever patterns that you're creating for your space, right? there's like another color vibration that's kind of happening. Maybe there's I don't know, some sort of sandwich board type sign thing. Maybe there's I don't know, more like a stand where, you know, the host kind of meets you or whatever it is. I don't know. But, you know, kind of think through that space a little bit more. As a base design, this looks dope, man. I really don't have too many complaints. I would probably, you know, get things up to like safety regulation type of thing. Not that this place is like super, you know, into safety regulations, but, you know, there's like a railing. Maybe it goes to like waist height, you know, build some of that up. Like this guy is this tall, but the railing's like down here. It just helps them fall in better because it's like so low. It's like, it almost like trips them, right? But maybe like the banners, the thing kind of goes up a bit higher, especially on like a raised platform like this. And we're trying to build in that believability. The reason we want to do that is because we as people live on this planet, and we know what a space like this feels like. You might not have been to this location, but you've been to places like it, right? And every place has shops just like it. And you want to try to find out that identity. You know, it's like what makes a coffee shop a coffee shop? Because you can go to a whole different country, right? A language that you don't even know, and then you'll know. That's like, okay, that's probably a coffee shop. You know what I mean? Sometimes you might not get it right? But generally speaking, you're like, oh yeah, they probably sell coffee, or they're probably a restaurant, or that's probably an office building. You know, there's a language associated with it. And what you want to do is try to distinguish that. And how do you make this feel like it's, you know, some sort of coffee shop, right? Because, you know, you got to imagine you're playing a game, right? If this is a game and you're running around town, maybe this is a place where they relax and recharge. You buy a drink, they gain more health, right? And so you want to let the audience know that this is a place where they consume resources, like, you know, food or drink or whatever. And because of that, you know, you're looking at the building, you need to be able to tell, like, okay, cool, it's a coffee shop. It's a friendly place versus, oh, it's the boss room. You know what I'm saying? Not saying it looks like a boss room, but you know what I mean? Like, that's the idea, right? So little things like that, I think can really, really do go a long way. I just noticed your other sandwich board here. So never mind on this one. This one looks good. But yeah, man, I think as a whole, you know, just keep going on this. I would probably, you know, present this in a very nice, relaxing space. Because right now you have a sunset kind of vibe happening. I'd probably go on the, like, you know, if the sun is like here, like if you're thinking sunset here, maybe it's like 4 o'clock, you know, where you get some really nice golden light and it's brighter, right? Because we want this place to feel like it's, I don't know, like it's happier, it's brighter, it's more, it's a relaxing type of place, right? It's inviting. And then there's like the arena section where it's like, there's people die here. You know what I'm saying? And you're trying to like set up that idea. So be careful about what kind of rocks you're showing. You know, maybe there's an identity here where this is a part of the village of like the good guy side versus like the bad guy side, right? Or if there is sides, right? And so by kind of giving it that language, you can then start designing off, like, you know, here's the, like, from the POV of the of us in that spirit from your last keyframe, right? From the person that's in the foreground, like let's say he's us, we're the good guys, right? And so, you know, what language is that? And then now it can kind of help you establish what the other side is like. You know what I mean? Whatever that means, whether it's a bad guy or maybe it's just like a bad dude in this village. I don't know. Whatever, but you see where I'm going here, where it's like just figuring out the story a bit further, right? In terms of like solid crits, there really isn't any, man. It's a lot of like pushing this further and just understanding what the point of this place is, right? The point is, look here. Now, any chance that you get, try to force us to look there, right? Whether it's through color, whether it's through contrast, whether it's through like leading lines, right? That usually tends to help a lot, and really like amping up the details in this bottom section here, right? Like all this stuff, like more set dressing, more props, whatever. Maybe cutting down some of the stuff up here, right? And yeah, man. So with that in mind, yeah, great job, dude. I would probably start modeling out the other smaller things, or, you know, start kind of figuring out the whole space. Give this a bit more room, right? Give it, you know, like I'd probably see something like that. Sorry, it's all red. But I'd probably do something like this. where it's like, you know, just a little bit further, because it gives us a little more room to look at, and we can kind of like get context, and it feels like we're walking up on it, you know, maybe some like foliage, you know, various things to make this feel like very, I don't know, very grounded, you know. So but yeah, man, great job. This is looking good. Just keep going. Dope. All right, did I miss anybody? I don't think I did. Cool, guys. Dude, great work. And also, like, I mean, seeing some of the, if you guys aren't part of the Discord and seeing some of the other people submitting or, you know, stuff like that, it's looking really good. I think the quality jumps, like I think every week, have been very cool to see, right? Especially like once the designs kind of start coming together, right? And hopefully with everyone kind of seeing this, right, it's really interesting because when we start, it's very like random. You know what I mean? Like it's very like you're kind of just painting, right? Because we did a keyframe. So generally speaking, it's like you're like, I don't know what the building looks like. I don't know what the vehicle looks like. I don't know what anything looks like. And you're just putting placeholders down, right? And that's the whole idea. It's, you know, you really don't, you're not designing anything in particular. You're designing the moment. And then now, right, with some 3D, with some extra time, with some extra reference, we're taking all these pieces and pushing it further, right? Because now you design the main building, you design the main props, you design whatever, and it starts kind of coming together really well. But, you know, it really is like, I guess, separating out the different pieces, right? Because every painting that you do has different intentions, different ideas behind it. So you really got to make sure that whenever you do this, you're kind of doing it separately, right? Because doing a badass design that has everything going right with it, as well as creating cool lighting, cool storytelling moments, that's extremely hard. But breaking things down into a couple different pieces usually makes things more manageable, and as well as looks better in a portfolio, because, you know, that's what you could be doing anyway, right? So, but yeah, so reading some of the comments. Oh yeah, Ian said, so Ian was, I believe you're submitting, where was it? Yeah, here you go. So you're, you know, submitting some of the building stuff. I just show it real quick for everybody. In this Discord, you know, like seeing some of this stuff, it's sick. Like the quality stuff is amazing, right? It's top notch. You know, the drawings and stuff look good, scaled. Nothing really feels off, which is a really good spot to be. Now it's, well, what am I saying though? You know what I mean? Like think about like the type of story that you want to convey. Like, you know, when you go into, let's say in a game, and you go into a location, right? And you're like, cool, I'm here at this place. You're like, is this a hostile place? Is this a very safe place? You know, because like I always think about like some of my experiences playing like just old games. Because I mean, I'm from the 90s, so I played like Final Fantasy games and stuff like that. And when you go to like an inn, right, where it's like there's a rest spot, there's a safe spot and all that, right? It feels very safe. The form language is very like accommodating, right? But then you go to like a more dangerous place, somewhere that there's an enemy inside or whatever it is, and things look more decrepit, things look kind of broken. You know, there's a whole modified area, right? That like whether it's like broken or crashed or whatever, right? And it tells that story, because once you're able to communicate at a high level, you know, which is what this stuff is, right? You know, not like, you know, it looks great. But now it's like, what are you actually saying, right? Because now it's, well, if it's a brewery, right? If there's something, you know, they're making alcohol here, you know, really you don't see a lot of that inside of the main house, and you'd want to kind of like notice it, right? Especially if it's like a big part of your design, right? So yeah, great job on that. It's just give me a person, and for everybody, right? When you're designing an environment, I think something that we as environments, I mean me as well, that we kind of forget about design as a whole, right, is that, you know, these spaces aren't designed environments. It's somebody's house, right? It's your house, it's my house, it's somebody that you know, or it's, you know, a type of personality. And as an environment designer, even though we're not doing the characters, right, we don't do figures as much, right, you still have to know that this space belongs to somebody. And then once you identify who that person is, right, that's how you get a really cool, compelling, story-driven design. Because at the end of the day, right, this space is laid out by somebody, right? Yeah, obviously, it's by us, the designer, but you want to think past, the real life aspect of I'm drawing something. You want to think into the world of like, oh, this place was built, 100 years ago. So the architecture is like a little creaky. The wood is kind of rotten in some areas. There's termites. There's like water damage on the walls. And then the person that's living here is a brewer, and he's kind of sloppy. He kind of works all day and drinks at night. So it's like, maybe even like the table is like gone, or maybe there's a bunch of stuff stacked on it because he's been, brewing stuff, and he's done, and he processes it over there. The kitchen's kind of been taken over. There's like pipes coming out of the ceiling because it's going from one building and he needs to loop it out to vent whatever it is, right? And it's a whole feeling, it's a whole vibe. And once you get that, you start being able to design a little bit more effectively, right? But as a whole, the quality and stuff looks dope. I think this is sick. So yeah, great job, man. Cool. All right. Vishal says, what's your favorite Blender modifier? I don't know, man. I don't know if I'm qualified to answer that question. I'm just, I don't do enough Blender to be like, oh, I always use this. I mean, I use Solidify. So, I guess Mirror is great, because you only have to do it once, right? There's nothing better than doing half of the work. You know what I'm saying? So I guess I'll say Mirror. Solidify is pretty cool. Booleans and stuff are great, but cutting your workload in half, that's priceless. All right. So let's jump into, let me show you kind of where I got this past week. So let me show you where I was. I think it was this one right here. Cool. All right. So this is what we had last week. We ended stream, I believe, with this exact one. I think I saved it out exactly where the stream ended, right? And so really all I did was I just, I kind of spent a little bit of time and kind of color corrected. I think an issue that I was actually having that I actually didn't notice, I don't know, maybe I was like confused or dazed or whatever it is. But I started kind of like painting all of these textures, right? You guys saw me doing that. I was like adding the weathering, I was doing the scratches, right? Because, that was the whole idea of what I wanted to do. But my overall color was not established to be in a scene like this, because when I modeled it, I just kind of put some lights in there. I put some warmer lights or whatever, because I kind of knew, but I didn't really fully establish what lights are like in this space, right? And so the first thing I did was I kind of color balanced things just a little bit, right? So I'm going to turn off some of this stuff here. Boom, there you go. You can kind of see like where I went. So it kind of went a little warmer, a little darker overall, just kind of emphasize some of those lights. So that was the first thing. After that, kind of fixing and establishing that ground, as well as starting to kind of just add in some of the effects, the dirt, getting some of the weathering and stuff like that. So from last week, really not that much change. It kind of feels like a lot, but it really, like, I just kind of added some lighting. If I take off my lighting effects pass, it's not too different. Some of the colors are a little bit different. There's a little bit warmer tones and some things here and there, but I mean, the grass was just a grass brush, right? So that's nothing. The dirt effect, it's kind of fun, and it like feels like it's like spinning through, right? It feels like it's moving, And then the wheels, I kind of motion blurred it because I want it to feel like it's digging, it's doing something. Because when you see this, it's like, dude, that's sick. It's like doing something. It's in a moment. It's an experience, and the time period and everything kind of links up to what that painting that we were doing in weeks like 3, 4, and 5, or I think it was. But yeah, so hopefully that looks kind of cool. Today, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this render further. Right now, it's feeling a little bit 3D for me. I would probably present this. This is at a stage. This is at a, I would say 70-ish%, where it's like, it's getting somewhere, but it's not really quite there yet. There is a kind of 3D effect to it, which isn't bad. It just doesn't match what my painting's doing, the centipede painting, right? Because if you present these things together, you kind of miss that, or or you kind of lose that I don't know, the quality bar, right? Because they are different. They're two different processes. One was like, you know, photo bash / asset bashing, which all painting. This one was mostly 3D with like a little bit of weathering. So I'm gonna kind of try and blend that, or basically just kind of paint things down, right? Which makes things pretty easy. But yeah, so let's do it. Let's see. Where am I at? Should I? Oh yeah, yeah, I'm good. I'm good. We're cool. We're cool. We're cool. All right. Cool, guys. So, seeing people in the Discord. How's it going, guys? How's it cracking? Let's see. Buggy. Yeah. Oh, this is my these are my layers. It gets kind of thick because everything's like pretty separate. Generally speaking, I don't start merging down to a little bit later, and even then, I try to keep things pretty separate for a little while at the very least, just because like I can like do some cooler things. I can kind of mess with things a little bit easier. So, but what I want to do though, I want to start. I want to add some decals first, right? So let's do that. Let's do this. Let's try 08. This is Livestream 8, right? So I'm going to put that on the doors. Should that be on the door? Oh, real quick. I added this rear view mirror. Nothing crazy. But I did, there's a couple reasons for that. For one, it's believable, right? Because it's like, oh yeah, cars, vehicles, right? If you know how to drive, you understand that, right? And then two, I felt like this, I don't know, it was kind of missing something. It's kind of like really wide open here. And I think this kind of gives me like a cool intermediate shape. There's like boom, boom, and then, you know, or like these three together floating, or like these five things, I guess, with the handlebars, right? There's handles right there. And then the vehicle, right? It kind of occupies that space a little bit. Because I think before, especially because it's floating, it feels odd, right? But I think like kind of grounding these pieces together by trying to intersect just a little bit helps out a lot. So little things like that can really can go a long way. So let's see, what fonts do I have? Helvetica. Ugh. Beavis Kai. That's always the cool sci-fi looking one. 08. All right. Should that be white? Boom. Boom. Does that look okay? Is that too bright? Let's rasterize that. I've been watching modeling tutorials, which is crazy. If anybody has any like cool recommendations, any good recommendations for anything hard surface, it's kind of what I'm digging into right now. I would love your recommendations. This I've made. We'll talk about goals and stuff next time in the next stream on January 9th. But we'll talk about that more later. But this coming year is going to be a bigger 3D year for me, just because I need to, first and foremost. I need to like get better at it. It's because like, you know, I can paint. I've gotten through basically most of my work up to this point without it, but you know, I guess I should probably do something about it, just because they are starting to. It is starting to become a more, I don't say pressing thing, but animation is they're starting to kind of look for it just a little bit more than usual, which is interesting. And I think it's like maybe like, because with working with like some of the artists that I've worked with in the past on like Blue Eye and stuff like that, and just seeing that production speed, or like what they're capable of doing, you know, it's a cool kind of skill to kind of have. Like, not that they ever ask me to do it, right? But when I do it, it does help things out a little bit better. And you know, especially in this day and age where, you know, they're like every job is asking like 50 things of you, you know. I guess having a couple more skills definitely helps. Well, with that being said, though, I have been talking to some friends, just in general about like 3D and stuff, and I am learning more. But with that being said, it's a lot of these things that we talk about. It's like it helps, but it won't save you, right? I do want to make that clear for everybody like watching this. 3D is super important to know, but your design skills is really where it matters the most, right? Because if you can't design, now you just have a shitty design in 3 dimensions. You know what I mean? Like now we can see it from all angles how trashy it is. You know what I mean? Like I don't want to say it like that, but it's a lot of like the same problems that you'll have in 2D. It's usually the same problems you'll have in 3D. So, but I'm not gonna bitch about it too much. I'll stop there. So.
For hard surface, Kenny, you should get hard ops, box cutter, and mesh tools.
So I have heard of box cutter. I saw hard ops today, or saw a tutorial where a guy was using it. I guess, is there like what is that? What's the difference?
It's like a lot of it is like just to be faster. It's a lot of like Blender functions that are kind of like shortcutted and like chained together, and it kind of does things in the right order automatically. Like when you using box cutter and hard ops, you can like do the Boolean cuts, and it disappears the cutter for you and organizes it in like the right layer, so your like modifier stack doesn't get all like weird. And just a lot of like little tools that are like easier and quicker to access, and it like feels more fluid.
Oh, that's cool. All right.
And if you like mirror, it has the best like mirror modifier thing. It's just like a shortcut that brings up like a little gizmo, and you just click on it to mirror like in different ways.
Yeah. Dope. All right, I'll try that out. Is it free? Is it just like just a thing that I just download, or?
No, I think mesh tools is free, and then hard ops and box cutter you can get them in like a pair. But I think it's like I got it on like the Black Friday thing, so it was definitely on sale. But I don't think it's too bad.
Okay. Yeah, I guess if it helps me with my career, I guess I'll pay for it. Speaking of paying for it, Bread Sumiko says, hop on the Norse train. Yeah, so I want to. And Norse has been telling me to hop on it too, which, because he's hardcore 3D code guy. And really the only reason is because I have to pay for 3D code. I'm like, God, I don't want to pay for another thing. You know what I mean? That's why I'm doing Blender. That's why I like Blender, because it's all free. And then I guess now it's hard ops and what was the other one? I already
Box
forgot.
cutter.
Box cutter. There you go.
Both Antoine and Chris have told me that 3D code is cool, but it's kind of just worth it to dig into one tool and know your one tool the best.
Dang.
If you're resistant to it.
I will admit, I am getting a lot less resistant. I don't say resistant. I mean, I guess it sounds like that from the outside looking in, right? Where it's like, I guess as my students, you guys know me as the anti 3D person, right? But really, the only reason I say that is because like when I talk to a student, whatever they say, whatever I say gets amplified, right? Where it's like, it's like, hey, maybe you should probably consider learning 3D. And then it's like, dude, Kenny said it's like the only thing that you'll ever need to know. I'm like, I didn't say it that way, man. You know what I mean? Like it's always like, oh, I need to like abandon every foundational trick I know to then go learn 3D. And I'm like, I didn't quite say it that way, but yeah. So I think I do try to be careful about really promoting it too much, because like I have some friends and they're like, oh yeah, 2D is dead. And I'm like, I don't know about that. It's like depends. I would say I would say it depends on where you work, right? Some places, I'm like bringing up my own questions to like talk about or rant about during the stream. But if you guys have anything, just call, just type it out or holler it out. We'll talk about it. But until then, because I had a conversation. It's like, oh yeah, 3D's dead. I'm like, or 2D's dead. Sorry. And I was like, well, I mean, I don't know about that, because then you look at the 3D and it's like, well, I mean, you probably need some 2D work. You should you know what I mean? Your compositions, graphic read, and stuff like that. I don't want to say it's bad, but it lacks appeal. Let's just say it that way. And it's just something where, maybe 2D's taking a different form, right? Maybe it's not visible, right? Just like painting, where it's like, yeah, I'm not drawing, right? I'm just, there's not a pencil in my hand, or I'm not doing line work, but to get some of these design works, to understand some of these things, right? You need foundational ideas to do it right. You know what I mean? Like, yes, technically I am not drawing, I am painting, but to be able to paint like that, you do have to be able to draw, right? Because, every amazing painter, if you ever, anybody that's like, pretty good at painting, anybody that you probably look up to in terms of painting, check out their line work. It's ridiculously good. Just, you know what I mean? Like, it's just stupid. It's just like, why, you know what I mean? Like it's like, oh yeah, I'm really good at drawing and this person's really good at painting. It's like, no, they're good at both. They would run circles around you regardless of what tool you're using, And I kind of see 3D as the same way, where yes, some places, like let's say like Call of Duty or or Treyarch, I guess Infinity Ward, stuff like that. They do put, I guess there's no like 2D work submitted, right? Where it's like a painting is submitted, but to be able to compose, light, design, stuff like that, all that requires really good foundational skills in all of those other aspects. And that usually comes from 2D skills, right? So let's see, hold up.
Yeah, I'm super glad that I waited like probably too long of a time to start learning 3D, because it feels cool now to like do something in 3D and like know that I could stop, at any stage and then like pick it up in Photoshop and keep going. Or if I'm, having fun with it or curious, I could keep pushing it in 3D as somewhere new that I haven't ever gone before and see what happens.
Yeah, right. That is one thing that I find very freeing, right? Because at this point in time, really all I'm actually doing is like, I'm just choosing to do it in 3D, right? There are some things that are way faster. Even I can admit that, but overall it's like, it really just comes down to, if I can't figure it out in 3D, if I don't have the tool, I don't have the technique, I can just say, okay, cool, we're good here, and then we'll go into 2D and kind of wrap it up, right? Which is usually, like, the way I see it is the more responsible way to do it. Because if you're ever like, dude, if I didn't have 3D, I couldn't do this, it's like, you might want to reconsider your skill set right there, right? Like, you can probably get away with it for a little while, but it's just like, there's things that you want to be able to do just as a designer as a whole, and it really does make a big difference. So, boom.
And you said you didn't like the idea of spending money on hard ops and box cutters, so you won't like this probably, but physical starlight and atmosphere on the Blender marketplace. Jama really recommended this in his tutorials, and if you see what people can do with this, and you see people using it in real time, it is like unbelievable. It's a light, simulation software, and it will do, go from sunset to morning and cloudy and pink sky and how many stars do you want, and just the way you can like light any scene is pretty incredible. I don't know if you like the idea of handing over lighting to the program, but
No, I've used that before. I've seen it. Yeah, it's powerful. It's good. I was there was something about it. I'm sure it's better, or I'm sure it's user error. But an issue that I was finding is that the lighting scenarios kind of felt very similar, right? I guess the range that you kind of hit, because you'll always hit like I guess a certain type of lighting scenario, you know, if that makes any sense, or like the color palette is roughly similar between like the small range that it has, you know, that I do find a bit I don't say concerning or anything, but it's like, you know what I mean, like it's not like quite where I'd want. But this was like, I think like a year or two ago when I did it, so it could be way better by now.
I think probably a lot of that has to do with like, you know, it looks really, really good and you can customize it a lot, but like it's almost like a game engine, you know, like a game engine, like when you're out in an open world, never really looks like super cinematic, but for like a keyframe, you almost have to like invent that fake lighting that you learn through like movies and stuff to make it look good. But that's not really something that like a 3D like sun algorithm would give you. So you kind of have to either use that with other stuff or just go all like, you know, make your own lighting.
Yeah.
Blender 4 now has the light linking, so you can do
that's
separate lights without
pretty cool.
affecting your environment.
Yeah, I think that's a big thing where, you know, it's, I guess as a color key artist, I guess for those that don't know, I'm particularly I guess I specialize more in the color key matte painting side of things. So maybe that's where I have issues with it, just because like this is like, it's what I do. I don't know. So it's like, that could be better. But yeah, it does get you a good base though. I will say it kind of gets you in that good zone. So, but yeah, appreciate it. I'll check all that out. It's going to be my goal for this coming year, right? Is take modeling far enough to where basically all I have to do is like atmosphere after that. Not that I'm always going to be doing that, but I guess having that skill to do so is kind of where I want to be, just because tired of saying at interviews, being like, oh yeah, I know a little bit of 3D. And they're like, how much? I'm like, well, I'm like okay at it. You know what I mean? I'm saying like, I am gangster at it. And then just not let them know that I'll probably be painting things. I'll say it like that, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, it's really where things are going. I feel the pressure. I'm not able to put in the time, but more than ever, like everyone at Lightbox was saying, oh, you just need to have it in your tool set.
Yeah.
Everyone uses it. If you deal with environments at all, it's like you are outdated if you're not using it. So.
Yeah, I mean, in games, it's a little bit, I would definitely say it's a little bit more so, right? I think in games in particular, they use a lot more 3D. Animation, you can probably get away with it for a little bit longer. But yeah, I do agree where it's like, you know, you gotta start, right? With that being said though, it's like, you know, be painting. It's, I think it's funny though, because I know a couple people, like I have a friend at Riot. He's like, he's, you know, insanely good at 3D, right? He just does it. But even he, like, he works more traditional when he can, or he's always trying to improve those traditional skills, plein air painting, drawing, this and that. And like every artist that I know that has gotten to a level, not to say every, but a lot of them where they're at that level to where they know 3D well enough, right? Where it's like, I'm not saying they're not learning anymore, but their focus on it has shifted, right? Once they get to that stage, a lot of them are like, oh yeah, I should probably be drawing more. You know what I mean? And it's a very interesting dynamic.
Because it's kind of just a technical hurdle to leap over, but it doesn't actually sustain the creation process, the fundamentals.
Yeah, right. I think it probably does. I mean, you know, it probably does. I think it's something where, you know, once you kind of know, you're like, oh, okay, I get it now. It's like I understand kind of where I'm still lacking, and usually because, you know, it's, you know, they start realizing, oh, it's not the technology that I needed to kind of get to whatever stage I needed to be in. It really comes down to, oh, I'm lacking these fundamental skills, and they see that, you know. That's probably what it is. But you know, I'm just a guy, so who really knows, right?
I was talking with Antoine the other day. He was helping me with some Blender stuff, and he was saying that he's sticking to Blender as much as he can because he was looking at other tools, but then he had an instructor at New Edge come in who models some of the most insane hard surface stuff in Blender only.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, so it's, you know, it's not really, I don't need to go pick up plasticity or 3D code. I just need to really understand the tools that I'm using.
Yeah. I think my skill right now in like, cause I'm like trying to branch out and other things, and I'm like, you know what? I should probably just learn how to do this in the one part. Cause I, you know, like I was saying before with like drawing, where I'm like, you know, this person does it in, and maybe I'm an asshole. I don't know. Like to myself, where I'm like, you know, this person's not complaining. They're doing pretty well. So maybe I should, who really knows? But 2024, guys, you'll see it happen. You'll be 3D extraordinaire. No, I'm just kidding. But I'll probably have a better process. I think right now, something that I do feel with my process, right, where I am able to. Sorry, hold up. Let me look up something real quick. Something I am able to kind of feel about my my process right now, where my design skills, right, is that I'm kind of brute forcing my way through, right? I don't know if you guys feel that way, but like whenever I'm painting, especially with 3D, it's like I'm having to like break things down and then paint past it, right? Instead of like a very smooth, effortless process. Like I feel like for those that know my 2D process, it's very I don't want to say effortless, but it's like it's very smooth. And like I don't know if that comes across in my demos and stuff, but it's very like structured, and it moves step by step effortlessly, where it's like it literally like there's not really that much of a waste of, I guess, movement or steps, right? But 3D, especially like here, where it's like, cool, we have a 3D model, and it takes me a second. Like my engines kind of need to start going, and this was what I was saying at the beginning of this demo, where I was doing this, right? I was, you know, I did this, and I didn't even get like the color and like the balancing and the lighting correct and all that stuff. I needed to kind of set that up first, but I wasn't doing that. And what I was doing was I was kind of dancing around it, where I started doing this. I started, you know, addressing these little things. I started doing that, and I was like, wait, it feels kind of off, because this ground plane was really just plain. So I started painting some ground things, trying to figure it out, right? I don't know how obvious it is for you guys watching it, but for me, it was very uncomfortable, right? And it's actually very similar the whole way through whenever it comes to the way I normally do things with 3D, where it's like it doesn't really quite flow that well. It's not bad, right? I'll still do it, and I'm still decently consistent with it. But there is like little things here and there that I'll kind of find myself like struggling. I'm like, I have to like analyze a bit more, because like with an environment, like painting wise, I can almost like just walk somebody through it on the phone. Like it's how like smooth it is, where it's like, generally speaking, I kind of know how to go about it, basically blind. But it does come down to like with my 3D stuff, I'm like, I have to analyze. It's kind of like whenever I give feedback and stuff, I have to sit there, look at it, kind of think back about the steps, what's missing here, what's missing there. And it's not really quite that smooth yet. There's a couple of wrinkles still there. So.
Welcome. Question for you. Do you go back and forth between 3D and 2D?
I try not to. And it could be, I mean, that could be lack of experience. Like with everybody, with everything that's being said here, right? It's a lot of like, there is a huge lack of experience on the 3D side, right? So take that with a giant grain of salt. But I try not to go too far backwards, or not say backwards, but back and forth, because check this out. So this was my painting before, right? This was what I had last week. And then I threw in that extra mirror, and then I kind of grabbed these handles and shifted them to the side to make it feel like it's swinging. You know what I mean? And those were like quick renders, or those are like quick little things that I could just do in the 3D and just kind of get it to do what it needs to do, right? But this car, if I needed to, let's say, like fix a panel where it's like, you know, something like this, where there's an edge here, I'm like, oh, I want that a little bit higher, I would just paint that. There's no edits on here that I would do that I wouldn't just do in 2D at this point. You know what I mean? Whether that's right or not, I don't know. It's mainly because, you know, my weathering effects and all that stuff is kind of already in there. There's not, I'm already kind of like tied into a 2D painting at this point. Even though it's a 3D asset, the painting itself is basically flat. It's in pieces, but it is flat. So it's really hard to go backwards from there, for me at least. So I can add on little things like 10%, 5% changes. But other than that, I can't do much, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that totally makes sense. Yeah.
With that being said, though, if anybody does go back and forth, I'd love to hear how. You know, just curious.
I've heard Shadi Shafat in his talks. He recommends it. All the one pixel brush people, that's their standard workflow. Is that every step of the way they basically redline themselves, make notes to go in and adjust it in 3D, so that they're thinking 2D, 3D back and forth before moving on to the next major stage in the composition.
Yeah, but they're not painting in 2D and then going back to 3D, right? They're just giving they render out it, they analyze it, look at it, give it notes, and then go back, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Then that's very similar. Like, because like what I'll do is like, you can use like grease pencil, or you can use like, you know, whatever red line thing, or just look at it. Like what I'll do is I'll sometimes give it a render, and I'll just kind of do a quick mock-up. Like let's say there's like, oh, I need to do. Let's just assume this was a. Actually, I have a simpler one here. Where's it at? Here it is. Be like, oh, this is the render that I got, like right out of 3D, and I'm like, oh, I don't really like this cut line right here. Let me take that higher, real quick, just to see what that looks like, and then I'll do something like this. I'll do that real quick, just to be like, do I like that kind of a little bit higher? If so, then I'll go do it. But other than that, I won't get to like this stage, like where I'm at now, and then decide, oh, I need something else in 3D. Unless it's like, you know, it's like up here where it's like there's something in the foreground, or there's like something on the side. I won't take this. This is done in 3D. There's little things here and there, like mirrors and stuff I might add, but nothing that I would do that's like I guess a real back and forth quality, so to speak. But again, like I said, not that good at 3D. So these rally cars are sick. So something I'm looking at, you know, I was looking at Ken Block. He's a legendary rally driver. He actually died earlier this year. But his rally cars are really cool because he has like artists like designed them. Like they look insane. I think there's an artist, his name is Ash Thorpe, and he helps design some of these cars, not all of them, some of these cars. And just looking at the way they kind of put on the livery and all that stuff, I'm just trying to get ideas on like what I could do for my car. I don't want it to go this far, right? But there is like little things here and there that I'm like, oh, that'd be kind of cool.
I think he has the new Audi thing. Just his daughter was trying to show it. That was like pretty sick.
Yeah, Audi e-tron Ken Block. Yeah, they did this a little while ago. They ripped through Vegas on it. There's a video on it too if you check it out. It's the Audi e-tron Hoonigan. But yeah, they made this rally car. There's an electric car, and it's based off of or it's designed after the old one, the S1 from a long time ago, and they kind of styled it the same. I guess with a similar way with the new car, and it's yeah, it looks dope. Yeah, these are sick. And again, like this is what I was saying, where really having hobbies, interests, right? Because a lot of these things, like whenever I'm designing and stuff, right? I always bring it back to something that I know, something I don't know this. I'm like not a rally driver, but you know, something that's like I've looked into at the very least, or know some things here and there, because it just gives that little bit more depth. You know what I mean? It just gives it that little bit more that somebody that doesn't do it would never see, would never know. But you know, that depth, people don't know the hobby, but they feel the inspiration. You know what I mean? Like, you know, when you meet somebody, like especially like artists, you can kind of tell when somebody is like, they kind of do it on the side, and then you can tell when somebody's like super into it. You know what I mean? Like as artists, we know like the ins and outs of our career / our hobby, whether it's painting, drawing, whatever it is. You know the things that kind of, you know, belong in that field, right? And so whenever we're designing and stuff, you want to add that depth, that knowledge into your scenes, into your designs, because that's what makes people, you know, look at it like, oh snap, yeah, they know what they're talking about, or they're like, wow, how'd you think of that? In reality, you didn't even think of it. It's just reference. It's just kind of there. You know what I mean? Like, it's not really that crazy of an idea, but because you have the foresight or the understanding of like what this thing is, it really helps, you know. So where's my decal at? Is it right here? Where are you at? Tire, front tire driver. There you go. Where are you at? Let's see. I'm losing my layers, guys. So sorry. Let me check the messages. Findown says you might be better off getting plasticity instead of hard ops, but hard ops is also good. Box cutter is awesome though. All right, 2 for box cutter. Let's go. Let's look into that. Julia says, okay, I won't go on YouTube, but unless you want to pull a Jaden, there's no need to get 3D code for VizDev. It's useful for very fast 3D hard surface concepting, or like making a 17 mil hyper real tree trunk with every crack and lump of dirt you might want, and then like nothing in between. Gotcha. Yeah, I think that was a big thing that I was kind of responding to with like some of the Norris stuff. I'm like, I don't like, would I ever need that? You know what I mean? Especially in animation, like we're really not 3D centric, just because they don't really expect that. You can do it. I'm not saying you can or can't, but I think like just understanding that, especially in animation, they don't care. They won't ever ask you. Oh, I don't say won't ever. They will almost never ask you unless you already show skill in that process. Because I do know some 3D VizDev artists, or like not 3D, but I actually do know a 3D VizDev artist, but I know more 3D centric VizDev artists, and they will be asked to do certain things. But I think as a whole, like most places I've seen, they don't really like, I guess, they don't really request that of you if you don't really show it, right? If you're like painting most things, they'll never be like, hey, can you give us this 3D model? Like, just because, you know. But I could be wrong. I don't know. Who knows? I'm just a guy. I'm just a lad. Let's see.
You're just a normal man.
I know, dude.
Man.
I'm but a boy. Speaking of which, how's Unreal going, bro?
Like you back and forth talk about 2D. For me, after I learned UE5, it really just I back and forth 2D and 3D. I think maybe it's like a faster for me in like a process. And also my teacher, she does the same thing. 3D, 2D, 3D, 2D, at the end, 2D paint afterwards.
Gotcha. Well, I guess like because you're not like painting and then going back to 3D, right? You're like you might render stuff on top, but it's not like the same thing, right? It's not like the same prop goes back and forth, right?
No, but like you're doing the like the modeling, all that will be go back to 3D, and then modeling that go back to 2D. Yeah, I'm not like just paint everything, then go back to 3D. I'm not there yet.
Yeah.
But based on like, I think really based on like what your end result is. For example, if this car, you say, hey, I want to make 3 different views, then that'll be better for you in the long term. Just model everything, right?
Yeah.
Like if you say, hey, I just want to make my image, and then this is fine. Yeah.
Gotcha. Dope.
I'm taking a class starting in January with Azusa Toho. She's a Viz Dev artist, and she uses 3D. She's worked in animation, but also ILM and stuff. But her whole thing is sketching with Blender. So not using it to make high fidelity assets, but to create compositions quickly.
Interesting.
Yeah, and so she does most all of it. She'll make characters, she'll make scenes, she'll make interior cutaways and stuff. But her whole workflow is based around just trying to get a usable thing out faster so that she can work in it in 2D.
Yeah, gotcha. Yeah, I have seen that a little bit. Just a little more like, I guess like in terms of like, because I think like when we think about 3D, right, or think about just those types of tools in general, I think like there's some people where it's a lot of like full scenes, full 3D, very little post painting afterwards, and that's a very specific look. I think in animation, like I guess as far as I go, right, I think a lot of people do kind of take it that far where it's like, you know, we just have some basic models where it's like there's just little things here and there that they modeled out, or there's like a kind of block out that they'll work with, and then it just from there they'll take over and make it look, you know, as cool as they make it. But you know, let's see.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it as an easier in, because I keep bouncing off of everyone trying to push the 1 pixel brush, you know, make the whole thing in 3D kind of method.
Yeah, no, that's true. I think that like it's funny because like especially with advice, right? It's really hard because I think with, I guess with things that like, you know, especially with like art advice, right? It's really hard because usually it's like, you know, let me tell you what I learned, right? It's like, well, let's dial that back because what you're learning and what I need to learn are 2 very different things, right? And like it's funny because, and I would caution everybody for this, right? Where whenever there's like a big trend, right? There's always like, it's always like there's a lot of people that do a thing, right? Especially monthly challenges. That's a big thing, right? Where it's like, hey, here's the next Inktober. Here's the next you know, plain April, stuff like that. And I'm not, you know, being shady with like those things, but it's like, do you need to do that? You know, should you be working on something else? Do you even need to take things a certain distance, or, you know, advice where like a lot of people are doing a certain thing? And I think as a teacher, I see that I'm like, oh, you know, you want to do this plein air thing, but in reality, you should probably be learning how to render, or, you know, and they'll spend months, days, years, whatever, kind of like following these trends because everyone needs to do it. But there's like the one thing that they need to do that would probably get them to a certain level, you know, and like they're not doing it, you know, and it's very like, I don't know, like it adds a lot of time to your learning process. You know what I mean? Like, because a lot of us only have a certain amount of time to be doing this, right? Because there's life, there's things that we need to do to get to where we're going in our, career, right? Because we don't always have support forever. And so the issue is all these people are hopping on this bandwagon of like, oh hey, let's learn this thing, let's do this thing, right? And it's like, well, but do you need to do that? And I think it needs to be very specific to you, right? And that's why like my answers for a lot of things is always so ranty, right? Because it's like I don't want to like give you an answer where it's like, yeah, you need to do this exact thing and everybody needs to follow that exact idea. It's like, well, I mean, it varies, you know what I mean? Everyone has different goals that they need to kind of do, right? And by understanding that you can't give out these like blanket statements, like especially like, everybody needs to do this in 3D. It's like, well, I mean, not really, generally speaking, because a lot of people are like, oh, because I hear, for example, like, oh, you need to learn 3D code, for example, and I'm like, well, I mean, but a lot of the stuff that they kind of like is that they're doing is for like games or it's for like some other thing or whatever. And I don't want to say irresponsible, but it is something where it doesn't really help and it can actually do a lot of damage. And as an artist, even for you guys listening to me now, right? Just remember, I'm a very particular artist. I'm a very, I guess, specialized artist in what I do, and my career path is probably very different than what you guys are doing. So you really got to be careful of like when you hear me say something where it's like, hey, you don't need to know 3D, you need to focus on 2D. Even that advice itself, if you're trying to work at somewhere like Treyarch, trying to work at somewhere like, very like, well, one pixel brush, it's probably not good advice, right? And you just have to know that because that's not what you're going to be doing, right? You're going to be doing very heavy 3D work. So just know that, but whenever you're like listening to people's advice or doing things, just remember like your situation is different. So you have to make sure that you understand that you don't have to take every single thing that you hear to heart. You know what I mean? So. This buggy's getting kind of fun though. I kind of want to like do some other scenes with it. I'd love to like do some more keyframes and stuff with this buggy and like have it like running away from things and stuff like that. So hopefully this will be kind of fun. Dude, let's go. Boom. So like just coming back to some of this stuff, something that I want to really emphasize, right, is like, we spent all this time, modeling out this thing. And then now like, you're at that point where like, like I was saying with some of the other people that are doing the homework and stuff, like you're kind of seeing the difference, right? Where it's like, you can show things off. This is a better view than like a T-pose, but you can show things in a very static kind of view here. I'll even pull up some of it. Where's it at? Render. Yeah, like a shot like this, where it's like, it's basically there. There's not a huge difference, right? In terms of like this vehicle, right? This one's in a showroom, right? It's like just white void where it's like, this thing's kind of cool, but in reality, it's like, it's not really doing anything. But like whenever you show things like this, whether it's a better painting or not, who truly knows? And yes, it's a little bit more work, but I would highly recommend like show things in context, and hopefully you can kind of see that difference, because people generally speaking, especially in like pitch settings or like where you're trying to show a new idea to your art director or whoever, generally speaking, they respond better when there's a moment, right? I've had so many ideas just shot down just because they're like, I don't really like how static it looks. I really want to kind of like off-roady. I was like, yeah, man, that's what it is, but then they want to see it like this because they might lack the imagination, or they might not quite fully grasp like the thing that's happening, so really try to present your stuff in a more story-driven manner. Because once you do that, once you sell the idea, you're like, oh, cool. Yeah, this buggy is dope. That's exactly what we want. You can then spend maybe a little more time cleaning up the model, you know, getting close-ups of certain things like the steering wheel, the inner seats, the wheels themselves. You can do all those things, but now the pressure's gone, right? And I think what happens is we kind of forget, you know, production. They want to answer things as fast as they can, right? Because whenever I'm at work, if I can show somebody something where it's like, this is where it's gonna be, right? Yeah, it's a 2D painting, right? And the modeler still needs to make this or do whatever, but you know, then I can like zoom in and give them like, oh, this is what the suspension looks like. This is what the tires we're going to be using. Like, cause even all of this is still pretty like placeholdery, right? But they're going to watch, they're going to look at the top one and be like, sold. Great. It's like most of the way there. And then from there, we can spend the endless amounts of time, you know, doing the thing, but they don't even know if they want a buggy, you know, they don't even know if they like, you know, the way it's going. Like, you know, maybe they just wanted something that flies, you know, and you want to show them in the best setting possible. And then now it's like, it's easy mode. You can, you know, do the thing that you were going to do. But you have the confidence. Cause how many times have you ever like designed something like maybe like a side view like this or a 3/4 view or whatever, it's just static. And you did like a bunch of all the call outs and then you finally did the keyframe and you're like, man, this idea doesn't look that good. You know, it just doesn't hit. It doesn't do the thing that I wanted. It didn't feel the way I wanted it to feel. And usually it's just because you didn't see it in context. So for those of you that are like building portfolios or, you know, just growing as artists, you know, whether you're an entry-level professional or even someone that's been doing this for a second, just remember, like, you know, we're not pitching to other artists, not always, right? And you want to really sell that story because that's what people sign up for. They're like, dude, just imagine like ripping through the sand dunes and stuff and like kind of, you know, doing all this fun stuff in this car and then show me the designs, you know, versus like show me the designs and then you kind of set up this moment. Like it can go either way, and I have seen it go both ways, but it's it kind of hits home when the story's there. So all right. Cool, guys. Well, is there any questions? Anybody have any conversations you guys want to have? It's the last one for the year. I won't see you guys till next year. I mean, it's not that far off, but
Might be moving.
oh snap! Where you going?
Not far, just a hop skip over to Wichita.
Oh, dope.
But it'll be closer to family, and we might buy a second house and move in with my mom. And hopefully that'll help with the whole childcare situation.
Your mom's gonna help you out.
Yeah, it'll hopefully be mutually beneficial because she is retiring from school teaching.
Nice.
And her mother passed away, my grandmother. She's taking it really hard.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's an opportunity for her to take care of our kid and have that connection, as well as give her an opportunity to save a bunch. And then I get my life back. But we're also closer to family, have some friends in the city.
That's dope.
So thinking about doing that.
That sounds great, man. Is your mom like different with you or different with your daughter than she is with like you when you were a kid? They're like, my parents are like strict. They always like yell at me and stuff when I was a kid. They're like scary. And then as like older parents now, they're like super nice. And they're like, dude, we never yelled at you. I'm like, well, are you kidding me? You yelled at me for everything.
No, she's about the same.
Let's see, is that good or bad? Good or bad?
It's very affectionate.
Nice.
It's at times overbearing. We would see how that plays out when we live together again.
Nice. Yes, it's fun. It's fun seeing because I'm getting, I don't say old, I'm not that old, but it's fun seeing like I guess my aunts and uncles and parents and stuff like act, because now my family is starting to get kids. Like we're we're all getting older now, and it's like my dad, like with my little my little nephew, I guess he's like super like, you know, babying this kid. I'm like, dude, my dad was so scary growing up. It was so like, just you're kind of like walking on like eggshells around my dad. Like you don't want to like do, like you're just on your best behavior around him. But now it's like this kid's like just messing with him and, you know, doing whatever, and he's all laughing with him. Like, what is this?
Have you reached to the age that you are older than your parents when they had you?
Oh yeah, dude. My mom had me at 22, so yeah, I'm way past that.
Right, and then you feel like you realize they didn't figure it out at that time, so they are learning too, right?
Yeah, not for real, dude. I think about me as having a kid at like this age. I'm like, dude, I'm not ready for that. It's not in the cards right now, bro. I'm like, my mom had 3 kids by this age. I'm like, what the? What? I'm just trying to paint dune buggies, bro. Let's see. Speaking of which,
it really does require a large support circle. Otherwise, it's very difficult.
but children.
Yeah.
Nice. I imagine, and I say that because as a man with no kids, I cannot say I know what you mean. Because parents love that. I've heard parents really appreciate when people that don't have kids say they know.
The other night we didn't sleep at all. He just cried every 30 minutes. So it was the entire night from 7 p.m. to 8 a.m. the next morning. No sleep.
Dude, I have a neighbor downstairs from where I live, and he has a younger child. Yeah, I'm like, because I think we're above his child's room. So like my room, or our sleeping room, is above his kid's room. And yeah, I can hear it at night. I'm like, dude. Or sometimes I can hear it. I'm like, my God, I'm not even in the same room. And I'm like, dude. Like, I don't know how he does it, but I mean, I guess you have to. There isn't any not doing it, right? So, I watched Godzilla the other day, this past weekend. It was dope. For those of you guys that haven't seen it, dude, go watch it. It was funny. It's nice too. I don't like going into movies with any knowledge, right? I try not to know anything about it, just because, like, I saw How to Train Your Dragon 2 a long time ago, and they did, you know, in the trailer they just like released like the one information that you probably shouldn't have known. And I'm like, after that, I was like, dude, I'm never watching a trailer again. And since then, I mean, I try not to. Obviously, when you're in the theater, right, there's just previews and stuff, so it happens. But like, if I can, I'll just not watch any previews. And luckily, I hadn't seen anything for Godzilla online. I just had a bunch of friends that were like, "Oh yeah, go watch it." And I won't say I hated, but I really didn't like the Hollywood ones. I guess the last few, like Godzilla versus Kong and all the other ones. I mean, they were fine. They were okay, but they weren't. I mean, let's be real. They weren't even that good. If you liked it, I'm so sorry, but sorry, but not sorry. This new one, it was great. It was solid. I was decently surprised.
I just saw the news. They're gonna make a black and white version in Japan, just for like a week or something like that.
Oh, dude, we gotta watch it, bro.
I don't have a green card, bro. You gotta support me now.
Dude, that'd be sick. That's good. Like, I think I liked it because, like, it really, like, if you guys have seen the old Godzillas, they really did try to, like, they brought that back, that feeling, that intention, that emotion. And it felt like it too. And I think what happens with like with the new ones, it's like it's so like, you know, it's Hollywood VFX, and you know, I'm glad this one's doing really well and for the budget that they had, and I really hope that the next one that they do, because with this amount of money, they always do a second one. I really hope they don't latch on to the worst aspects of it, where it's like, oh, they did it for 50 million, cool, let's really cheap out, or they like really showed this thing, you know what I mean? Like there's a lot of movies like they'll like, especially like sequels that do really well, like Deadpool did really well, or Guardians of the Galaxy did really well, and the second ones they like lean into that, like the whole aspect that really people didn't care about, or not that didn't care about, but it's like it really wasn't the reason it was good. And like with Godzilla, like I really felt like it was a smaller story that they really kind of focused down on a couple, or these couple of people, and it was really good. I really enjoyed it. So if you guys haven't seen it, definitely check it out. It's I don't say that often. I'm very particular when it comes to my movies. What was it?
Does it have any relationship to Shin Godzilla?
I'm not sure. I haven't seen that one.
No, this is just like original story.
Right. Well, Shin Godzilla is pretty good as well. If you haven't seen that one, Kenny.
Oh, I need to check it out. I want to do like a marathon, like just kind of just going through all the old ones again.
Is it all the Shin Godzilla, Shin Ultraman plus the Shin Kaizen whatever, all directed by the same guy who did Evangelion, right?
Yep, that's right.
It's all sponsored by the
wow.
same.
Same goddamn music as well. It's so weird.
It's all sponsored by the same ramen company. If you guys didn't know.
That's a corny dad joke. You're ready for it.
Gotta end the year. Gotta end the year on a bang, bro.
I've been watching all the Alien movie series with my wife. It's been fun.
Dope. All right, which one though, bro? Which one's the best?
We actually started in universe chronological order. So it's like the newest ones, like Prometheus and Covenant, which were not too long ago.
Yeah.
I guess it was a little bit long ago, but whatever, you know, it's not compared to the old ones. And then you go back to the 1979 and then go from there.
How's that? I guess because that argument is because they have the same conversation about Star Wars, right? Do you start at 1 or do you start at 4?
Yeah. I don't know. Like, I mean, obviously, like the effects and stuff in Prometheus is sick, but like it's actually less jarring going back to the 79 one because they didn't even have like any 3D or anything back then. It was all just like set design, and like they had to be like more creative with like what they showed, you know, and it's like obvious that they knew like the limitations. So I don't know, I thought it was kind of cool to see like how little they show of like, you know, what you would normally see a full 3D running up a wall alien type deal. Like they show very little and it's more like suspense, and I really like the old set designs are sick.
Yeah,
I miss it, man. Like I've been going and watching older movies too, and it just the set design, the scripts being often very tight, just because you're going back and watching the best of the best. But it's like the movies feel so superfluous nowadays, blockbusters in comparison.
You know, I feel like a lot of this comes down like because you know when you get really good VFX, really good like strong like you know effects and stuff like that, I think there's this like I don't know this cockiness that happens, or even like this I don't know this idea of like oh we made this thing so we need to show it, right? But like back then they couldn't show it because it looked like trash in like ambient light, you know. So they had to make everything moody, and they figured out a way around it, but it like helped the storytelling. And I feel like nowadays is because like oh you need to see it right off the bat, or you need to experience it, and it almost gets lazy because you know they did the same thing back then where it was like oh hey here's the you know you're looking at this creature, you're looking at this thing, but you're seeing like parts of it at a time. You never really see the full thing in ambient lighting. You always see it like as like a shadow that moves, or you see part of it and it's like looks like, you know, it's very intimidating because a lot of it's mystery, but it's your imagination that really does that, right? It's because like whenever you see those old movies, it's all in the dark or it's all whatever, and it just doesn't it doesn't get in the way of your thoughts, because, you know, like I've said before, like don't get in the way of someone's imagination, right? Because their imagination is always going to be better than whatever you're trying to show. And like these older movies, they did that out of necessity. They had to, just because, you know, the prop didn't look as solid or whatever, you know. Even like the T-Rex in Jurassic Park was like broken half the time, so they could only show parts of it, or they could only do certain things with it. But you know, we still all remember it, right? But like nowadays with Jurassic Park and stuff like that, like I mean, you know what I mean? Like who's really like, wow, that was mind blowing, how amazing that was animated. You know what I mean? Like I don't know. Maybe we're not the right crowd anymore or whatever it is, but I don't think I've ever, like lately, really heard anybody like really freaking out about any of these movies, you know? So maybe it's just me. Maybe I'm just a scrub. Who knows? But
No, I get it. We were just watching the recent Indiana Jones, and so much of it just felt so fake because the green screening pretty sloppy.
Was it really that bad? I haven't watched that yet.
No, the movie is fine. It's just they go pretty big on set pieces, like action and events, and they handle it all with digital. You know, like you can tell that none of it is real. So
The new Mission Impossible is very good.
yeah, they're old school.
That's probably why
Tom
Fury
Cruise
Road.
is out.
well, what was that, Finn?
I was going to say that's probably why Fury Road landed as hard as it did, because that's mostly practical effects as well.
Oh, yeah, did you see the trailer for Furiosa is more digital than practical?
Yeah, I don't know how I feel about that.
They didn't learn it. They didn't learn their lesson.
Mm. Yeah, I heard the other day that Blade Runner was one of the first films to pioneer doing immersive set design, where they designed a lot of stuff that characters would be wearing and characters would be interacting with, which wouldn't actually be shown in character. Wouldn't actually be shown on camera. The reason being is just, I don't know, let actors immerse themselves into that world. Don't quote me on that. I don't know what the source is, but it's a really interesting approach to design.
So what do you mean? Like they'll like design stuff that people won't see? Is that so they can interact with it?
Yeah, they're designing stuff just in the sense that they want to build out the entire set so that actors can fully immerse themselves in there. I believe that's what they were talking about.
Oh wow.
So it's like, I guess you would have a lot of inefficiency there. It
Yeah.
probably cost a lot. But it does, you can tell, I mean, look how revered Blade Runner is. It definitely creates a certain vibe around the movie.
Yeah, I feel you on that one. Fun fact for everybody that may or may not know, Blade Runner was a box office failure. It's funny because, like, you know, if you're a designer nowadays, right, like everybody's like, that's like gold standard sci-fi, right? It's like that, Fifth Element. What else is there? Like, you know, those types of Star Wars, right? Like old Star Wars. It's like, you know, peak sci-fi. And then, you know, but back then it was, they didn't appreciate it, right? It was a slow burn. It took a second. But yeah, I was talking to, like, in my style and mood class, we had a guy in that class was kind of talking to us about that, and it was cool just kind of hearing some of the insight. He was an art director at a place, and it was just cool to kind of interact and talk about some of these things. And we were talking about like Hollywood, the state of Hollywood, and like some of the risks and stuff that I guess they're not taking, or you know how projects kind of run, and it was super interesting.
I mean, the new one, same thing. The box office fell too. The new Blade Runner,
Yeah.
and then people love that home.
Yeah,
Crazy.
it's because like the whole like I was saying before, where it's like the general audience, the people that watch movies, right? I mean, they're not really artists; they're just people, right? And like whenever you like, especially like even even artists get it wrong half the time, but like a lot of these movies, like when we get all artsy about it, we get all like, oh yeah, it's this thing, or it's this whole like, I guess I don't know, this whole focus on like, I guess the creativity, the art around it, but like a lot of like just moms and kids and parents and I don't know, just random people, just normal everyday people watching this, and they just don't get it, right? And it's not their fault, it's our fault. It's if your audience looks at your painting, looks at your work, and they don't understand what's happening, generally speaking, that's your fault, right? Because you can't resort to the idea of like, oh, they don't see my vision, you know what I mean? Like, it doesn't work that way, right? Because yeah, maybe not, but you should probably be conveying your vision better. And that's where, like, when I say a lot of people really don't care about design, I don't know if I've said it during the stream or not, but like a lot of design kind of goes unnoticed, which it kind of should, right? Like, we put so much emphasis on like form language and all these things where it's like, they're trying to show the functionality of this thing, or all these very intricate ideas, right? But in reality, people don't really see that. They feel it, but they don't see it. And we as designers really got to understand, like, if your audience doesn't pick it up within a couple seconds of looking at the thing, it's kind of a failed design. There's no, it doesn't serve a purpose anymore because the audience doesn't really get it. They're not really there for it. And that's why, like, for me as a designer, for really anything that I do, that's why I really like, for those that have been paying attention for the last 9 weeks, I really focus on story, right? Really making sure that, like, hey, understand what you're trying to say. The forms are very secondary, right? Because if someone looked at this and like, I don't really like that cut line right there, I'm like, okay, well, do you like the whole bug? You're like, yeah, it's pretty cool. It's like, oh, I like what's happening. It's really easy to get behind a moment. It's really hard to get someone behind an object, right? And so whenever I focus on designs, I try to emphasize that, because that's what we do, right? We're designing an experience, and then the other stuff comes secondary. The audience, I'm not saying they won't get it, no, they won't see it, but they'll feel it before they notice it. Right? Because, it's always that second, third watch that's like, oh, wow, I noticed that they used this reference for this thing, but upon initial sight, it doesn't, it doesn't really do anything. It doesn't meet a lot of this stuff. It's like, they don't see it. They don't really care. They're here for the fun action of like driving through the sand, or like watching this thing like crash through sand dunes and stuff. But all the small things like the tow hitches, the train handles, right, from car culture that I included, or even like little words and numbers, and all of these things like the X's on the headlights, or the Pokeballs that we kind of see here. They don't notice that. They feel it, but they don't notice it.
Yeah, one of the reasons why, going back to Fury Road, one of the reasons it works so well is the entire film is basically just center frame. Like, almost the entire time, the thing you need to look at is right in the middle. So it's super clear, super easy to read. And I think it's something that nobody notices consciously.
Yeah.
But it's one of the reasons why that film did as well as it did. Because it's just so easy to understand what's going on.
Yeah, right. It's that readability. It's, the audience needs to understand it. If they're ever lost, you're like watch a movie, like, I don't know what the hell is happening here. It just pulls you out, right? But if you get it, you're in it. It makes things a lot easier, And it's generally speaking, it's successful when the audience gets it, not when an artist needs to get it. Nice.
Actually, in a class I was taking recently,
Yeah.
he brought up this movie where I guess it's on the same note of like designing things just for the actors. They like took diagrams from like the actual ancient Roman forums and they like recreated basically like a whole city kind of just for the actors and for the fun of it, I guess. I don't know.
That's
But it's a
sick.
huge, it's a massive set, like, and they walk through the whole thing. It's like perfectly accurate because they use the diagrams and stuff like that. It's like insane.
That's sick. It's always cool when they do something, and especially like now lately. There's this new technology that's out that some studio, I can't mention who, but I worked on a production where they were building sets. We built 3D sets, and then they have these TVs around the set, right? And you can kind of like see everything. You can see the entire environment that we designed, and the actor gets to like at least see it and respond to it. And it's really cool because they'll kind of build like scaffolding if they need like a ledge, or they'll like kind of put certain props. And obviously it's not like this 100%, not like what you're talking about, but it's like it's very defined out, and it's really interesting because we saw some footage from it. And it was like dude, that's insane. Like everything looks so. So, like it's not real, but you're watching an actor or a stunt person or whoever like responding to something that you actually made. It's and I'm sure it helps. I'm not an actor or anything, so I don't really know how it's going for them on their side, but I'm sure seeing it and being able to experience that part is really I don't know, probably very helpful for them to just I guess emote or create things versus like watching like like kid actors, like they don't quite know how to quite respond to nothing yet, so you see like a lot of those like bad kid actor movies. It's not their fault. I mean, it kind of is, but they're young. We'll cut them some slack. Yo, Sans looking sandy. What's up, dude? Oh, that's cool. Yeah, I felt that was missing something. Sick. Hold up. I've heard. So Ian says Monarch series on Apple is pretty forgettable. I've heard some like not great things about it. But we'll let people figure that out. Cool. Ramik says you become strong when you're young and academically weak in an Asian family. I don't know, man. I think if I was academically weak, they wouldn't be such a fun time at home. I used to hate the report card day because I had good grades, they were fine, but sometimes it's just not good enough. You get grounded or whatever. In best case scenario, you get grounded. But it is what it is. Boom. Let's do it. Cool. What else should I do to this? It's starting to come together. We got about an hour left, guys. What's on the mind? Who's been feeling frustrated about something? Who's going through some stuff? Doesn't have to get personal, but
Okay.
Yo, what's up, dude?
Yeah, on my side, by the way, it's been a while that I've been on
I know, dude.
the Discord.
I missed you, man. You left me, found a job, and you just left me.
Yeah, well, I was kind of busy with my professional work. The
all
thing is,
good, dude.
yeah, I've been struggling. I've been busy. I've been doing lots of overtime, and yeah, I was at the point that, dude, I start to hate what I'm doing, but at the same time, I just try to keep myself motivated again.
Yeah.
Yeah, recently I just been like also doing a lot of like martial arts, like Muay Thai and boxing. So it's like kind of helps me to like get motivated. But sometimes like, man, when it comes to career, when it comes to art, I just try to like find a way to just like maybe doing personal projects again. But it's really hard to
Yeah,
find some
dude.
time. So
You know,
like,
I mean,
I don't know how.
go ahead, go ahead.
Yeah.
No. Finish what you're saying.
Yeah, sometimes like I don't know how you do it, Kenny. So it's like I wish to just have like sometimes just like you're doing right now, doing personal projects. Because like
You know, man, the only reason I'm doing personal projects right now is because we're fucking live and people are watching. Because like it's tough, dude. I mean, yeah, no, you're not wrong, and it's funny because like I think every artist that I know has gone through this at some point or is going through this now, where it's like, we as students, you're painting all day. It's like, dude, you're going like 8-12 hours and you're like, dude, I love it, this and that. You know what I mean? Like it's, there's an excitement that happens, right? But as like, once that kind of burns off, right? Once you're actually working for a little while, like, a couple years, it starts becoming like, it's just a job at the end of the day. And it's hard to believe that whenever, whenever you're, I guess, talking with people, because I don't know if you've heard it before, but they say it a lot where it's like, oh, you got to remember, guys, it's just a job. It's just a 9-to-5 type of thing. And you're like, dude, what are you talking about? You paint for a living. You know what I mean? And that's like, like I guess as a student, I didn't quite understand that. I was like, what could be better? You know what I mean? Like what could be better than just getting to paint all day, right? And you got to realize that your hobby kind of just got taken over, right? Your hobby is no longer a hobby. If you're getting paid for it, it's no longer a hobby, right? And now if you're getting paid for it, that usually means that you're probably doing something that you don't want to do, right? Because not that you don't want to do it, but it's not yours. It's not your decision. It's someone else's decision, and they're paying you. And so the motivation drops, right? I struggle with that all day, dude. I mean, that's half the reason why I'm doing this right now, right? Like, like I think I said at the beginning, where it's like, half of this was, well, I need to be doing some personal work, so I might as well turn on a camera and just talk while I do it, right? Because I wouldn't have done this painting, the painting before this, all the other paintings I've done in this past couple weeks. I wouldn't have done that if the camera if the camera wasn't on. Let's just be real, right? Because that's psychotic. How do you go to work 8 hours a day and then go home and be like, hey, let's do that again? You know what I mean? That's crazy. I don't know. It's like, so, it takes a certain kind of person to do that. And most, if not everybody, is like that. Like, maybe for those at the very beginning of your career, now they're very excited and kind of hearing this, you're like, what are you talking about? It's like, it's great. Yeah. I even want to paint more. Just give it some time. Give it a second. You'll see what I'm talking about. But
I know what you're talking about for sure.
Yeah, and
it just like go ahead.
Yeah, you really got to find that balance, right? Because part of the issue with being an artist, I will say, is that you really have to understand that our job, our career is an ever growing one, right? Just like me saying, hey, I have to learn 3D. Well, when I first started, I didn't have to know 3D, but now I'm starting to need to know it, right? I don't need to do it. I can get by without it, probably for the rest of my career, if I'm being honest. But this opens up more career paths, opens up more avenues, right? And it's just something I have to do to kind of make myself more, available for other studios, right? Because now I can apply to other studios that are looking for that versus just the ones that don't really care for it, right? And really finding that balance of living a life and working, right? Because the issue that happens is the high of, I guess achieving your career, achieving your dreams really does wear off, and it wears off quick. Because once you're doing it, you're like, okay, I don't really want to paint today. He was like, well, you're getting paid now, so you kind of have to, right? It is what it is, right? And it takes a second to kind of find that. And that's why, like, I always say, like I was saying earlier and in previous streams, of go do something, go be a person, go experience life, because not only does it, allow you to be a person again, right? Where you're, experiencing things, but also it gives you more inspiration to kind of go back. How many times has any of you watched a movie? I was like, dude, I want to go do some fan art. And you're probably burnt out as hell right before that. You're like, dude, I don't really want to paint. I don't really want to do a thing. I saw Godzilla and I was like, dude, I want to do a Godzilla painting. You know what I mean? Or I want to do some fan art, right? Or like, you played a game and you're like, dude, I wanted to like design some sci-fi stuff because I just played some sci-fi game. Or, you went, I don't know, race car driving, or you went to play a sport and you just want to like kind of bring that into your drawing experience. Because what happens is you're excited about a thing and then you want to kind of experience that again, but obviously you can't because you're sitting at a desk drawing, so you might as well draw it, right? And it's like, it's trying to find that again. That is really one of the bigger things about becoming a professional artist. Like, it sounds funny that our career kind of starts becoming the thing that's like draining us, when it was the thing that kind of drove us to do it to begin with, But yeah, for a long time, I just wasn't, I wasn't really doing personal work. And a big thing that I started realizing was, well, I'm not really growing as much because I'm not doing more. I'm not, progressing in my skill set. And then two, I'm just kind of not motivated anymore, as I got out to do more things and just experience life, I kind of came back with, I guess, a refreshed kind of state. And, you have to want this, you have to want to do it, because if you don't, it sucks, man,
Yeah, for sure.
So, but, yeah, man, I think you'll see that a lot of people are kind of have that same experience, and it's, hopefully you kind of start figuring out what that means for you, but just know that, like, taking a step back, like you were saying, you're doing like Muay Thai and all those things. Like, that's perfect, dude. Keep doing that. Like, give yourself a reason to, just get out and do something else, and then come back to it with like refreshed eyes,
Yeah, for sure. Like, yeah, like you said, I was like at a point like, yeah, I'm a point like, yeah, I started not motivated anymore, but I try to find a way to like get this motivation again. And also, I still remember the 5 fingers, that analogy you were talking about how to keep your job, how to survive. And I'm kind of like at this point now, like, for sure, it's cool to have this job, but the thing is like how to maintain it, like how to keep performing and show your A games all the time. Yeah, this like, it's really hard. This is now I know what it means to be a professional now.
Yeah.
And the things like, yeah, it's tough, man. But
yeah,
to do it.
Yeah. For those that don't know, I have this analogy where it's not my analogies, just analogies that I've heard from my my mentors and friends and various things like that. And the analogy is you need 5 fingers, right? 5 fingers to hold on to something, right? To grab something. Because any less, it just gets difficult, right? Your 1 finger, right? You might be able to hold on to something. It's a lot harder. 5 fingers is a good grip on something, right? And just imagine that grip on something is your job, right? You're having a good grasp on your career is really the first thing that we try to aim for, because when you get in, for those that haven't got in, it doesn't feel like it. Just being real. Like for everybody that I know, when they got their first job, they're like, I don't know if it's gonna be like this forever. I might get fired tomorrow. You know what I mean? It's very disheartening.
Yes.
But the idea is, every finger is a different skill. So your drawing, painting skills, the physical act of image making, that's one finger, right? And to hold on to something, you might be able to hold on to something with one finger, right? If you ever like did a one finger pull up, I can't do one, but some people might be able to. Basically, what it comes down to, it's hard as hell. It is difficult to hold on to something with just one skill, right? One finger. But it can be done. It absolutely can. But then, what are the other fingers? What does that even mean? And really, it comes down to like understanding that holding on to a job requires a couple different skills, right? It requires the ability to communicate. It requires the ability to work as a team, right? The ability to, work with, new challenges like problem solving, right? Being on time, being organized. All of those are like different fingers. And it sounds funny where it's like, why is my art skill being compared to my organization skills? Because as you get better, you start realizing like, oh, it really isn't all about drawing and painting, because drawing and painting is just the way we communicate. It has nothing as a concept artist, it is really hard to say that it's like, my job is to draw and paint. It really, you're doing drawing and painting, sure, but you're actually communicating ideas, right? That's what we do. We just happen to use it through drawing and painting, because even at the high levels, when you get like an art director or whatever, they're communicating with you to you through references half the time. They're not even drawing and painting. They're sending you a picture and being like, hey, I want something like this. And you give them what they're looking for essentially, right? And so really finding out like what those other skills are should be number one priority once you find your job, right? Because once you get there, you start realizing that getting your first job was actually not the hardest thing you're ever going to do. Unfortunately, right? For those that are like still looking for their first jobs and still, I guess going through all that, it's hard to hear, but getting your first job is actually not the hardest thing you have to do. It's maintaining your job. It's getting the second job. It's consistently finding jobs every time that you need to. Yep. That's the hard part, because, it's so difficult to kind of, keep doing that, because you getting your foot in the door once, that can be luck half the time, and it most of the time it kind of is. We always want to think that like, hey, I got a job, right? I got my foot in the door. I must be fucking awesome. No, you were pretty lucky. No. I don't say it like that, because there's a level of hard work that people do, absolutely. But just understand, go into the mentality of you were lucky, because chances are you probably were. Because the idea is it takes so many other things to get a job. It's not just your ability to draw and paint. It's, were they hiring? Were they looking for somebody with your skill set? Were they looking for someone in your skill level? Were they looking for, so many other things? And then you could draw pretty well, so. But yeah, I don't say it like all doom and gloom, but it really is a miracle, that when people get their first job, but really understanding that don't let your foot off the gas. Because the issue that I find a lot is that once you get your first job, great, congratulations. I would say keep your foot on the gas for like another 3 years, right? Two and a half, 2 years if you're fast, if you're really efficient and you're hardworking. But for about 3 years, just act like you didn't even get a job yet. Act like you're about to lose this job on any any little thing, because chances are it's probably true, right? Because when all these companies letting people go, right? It's not that they sucked. It's that the company sucks. It's not like the people got let go for skill reasons. They got let go because they didn't make enough money that quarter. So it's definitely possible. But just know that, just stay on the gas, because when you get your first job, and then you do the work and you do your thing, right? create the paintings for them. You do awesome work. Great. No one's going to see that for like 3 years, unfortunately, because, that's what an NDA is all about. Right. So, but, and then by the time you get out, right, you're still officially still a student, because the portfolio that you'd want to show, you can't show it because it's all NDA.
Mhm.
Yeah, man. Well, sorry going through that, dude. But I mean, it is, I mean, the rite of passage, I will say. It is,
Yeah, I guess. Yeah.
it is what
Everyone
we do.
go through. Hmm.
Yeah. Sick. Dude, what's up, bro?
I know that I just lucked out with my current job, but just happened to get it. And my wife does not understand it. And it's just, I'm panicking. But hopefully it'll change next year. I really just ultimately had a completely dead year. Like almost nothing accomplished outside of work itself.
Yeah,
which is
it's so
really
easy for
scary.
that to happen, man. Because you're working hard, right? It's like, it's funny because like, dude, you're probably working more than you were when you were a student, right? Just because, you're working at the very least an 8-hour day, at minimum, right? An 8-hour day. But unfortunately, half of it you can't even show until the obviously, I know this about you, where you're super early in the process. So you won't be seeing that for years. Like, and it's just like, essentially, you have nothing, unfortunately, right? And same with me, dude. Like, where it's like, if I didn't, because, like, I did a personal project earlier this year, right? And, I did a couple paintings, and then these two. But other than that, it's just like, this is all I got. I got like 8 paintings or whatever it is, which is, I mean, a decent amount but none of them are really at the quality that I'm like, I'd really be like proud of in my portfolio, just because, it's not really quite there yet. It's getting there. It's at a point to where, it has potential, but I mean, has potential and ready to present is two different things, right? And it's it's tough, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been struggling with a lot of the same things as Alex. I talked about it before in the chat. Just recently, I had to go through a lot of searching to think about like what it was that actually motivated me in order to create art in the first place.
Yeah.
Because I felt like I was a little bit of a strange case. Like, I was never somebody who was motivated to do fan art. And so I had to really think about like, why did I get into art in the first place? And for me, it really came down to, I got into art because I was on art forums when I was younger. And it was like that sense of participating in a community. And so I've started like doing a bunch of like random small Discord challenges where it's like a small community where everyone is cooperating and interacting. And that's been the thing which has like made a huge difference for me. Like, just finding my own personal motivation to do stuff. So I feel like focusing on just like properties and specific projects is not always the thing that you need to focus on to get yourself to make it.
Yeah.
I don't know. Everyone has their own personal motivation. It can be very, very complicated.
Yeah.
To stay engaged. Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah.
Dope.
Just doing something is better than doing nothing, even if it's studies and working with other people.
Totally. Yeah. Great insight, man. It's like, for me, it's funny because the reason I started drawing and painting was because I was like, well, I'm not really good at anything else, right? And it's funny because when I said that, you could arguably say I wasn't good at drawing and painting either. Because, I was like, I wasn't trained at all. I was, I could draw better than, the people in my class, like, you know. But the thing is, once you get into the art industry, like that's everybody. Everybody's that best high schooler. Everybody's that best kid in that class, or most people are at the very least. And it's I'm somebody that I like habitually dive into things, you know. I will just pick up things and I'll start learning them, but I get bored of things fast. So I have a lot of hobbies or a lot of things that I would do, and I kind of like circle back, which is kind of nice. I've, like, as an adult, I'm like learning how to channel that a little bit better. I guess as what I would consider an adult. But you know, I think when I first started, I was like, okay, I'm gonna do this because, well, I don't want to go to medical school. I don't want to do pre-med. That's assuming I would even get in. Let's just be real. But you know, it's the idea would be, it's like I could either keep pursuing what I was doing, or go do this thing that I'm actually like kind of okay at. Right? Spoiler alert, I wasn't that good at it, but I got better, thankfully. You know, as an adult now, once I lost that motivation to like get it, because, you know, I got my job and I was like, cool, you know, well, what am I going to do now? You know, what's the thing? And you kind of start losing motivation because, yeah, you're getting paid, but you don't want to do it, you know, because when things get kind of hard, you just naturally just don't want to, I guess, you know, constantly be doing that with your entire life, you know, and it sucks. But I had to kind of start finding out those reasons of like, oh, you know, what's a stronger reason why I like doing these things? What's, you know, and to be honest, I don't even know if I found that 100%, because a lot of the stuff that I do, it's motivated through need, right? Because if I could choose to like not be doing production work, I'd choose that 1,000%. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know about anybody else, but like if I could make the same living without doing production work, bro, I mean, not that I wouldn't be doing art anymore, right? But production specific for clients and stuff, dude, I would drop that in a heartbeat, you know, because I don't, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. It's cool to work for places, but it's really not, I think for me, not a strong motivating factor anymore, because it's, I don't know, it's just not the shit that they put you through, the things that they do to people is disgusting sometimes. Right? Some places are great. Some places are, you know, great places to work. You have great leads. Other places, you know, it's not you shouldn't treat humans this way kind of mentality. You know what I mean? I don't say it like that, but you know, it's tough. I don't know. I don't really know where I'm going with that, but it's a adventure that we all kind of have to like figure out for ourselves, and everybody's just a little bit different. But it's nice because I in my classes I like talking about this stuff, not because I have particular insight into it, but just because I want people to know that you're not the only ones that are experiencing it. And we can kind of bottle it up inside and be like, oh, I must be weird because, you know, no one else is talking about it. Yeah, because, you know, nobody else wants to say anything. But in reality, it really is like everybody. I think everybody I know is going through, to some degree, a version of what we're talking about here. And it sucks when you're going through it alone. But I've had so many students like kind of talk to me, and I didn't even like, I won't even say anything. It's not even like I'll say anything like important, but it's just something that like, oh, I experienced it this way, and then like, wow, that really changed the way I saw it, the way I experienced it, you know. And I didn't even give him an answer. I just said, me too, man, you know. And I don't know, hopefully, you know, people watching this or hearing this can at the very least understand that people of all levels, from students, professionals to whatever, are all going through that exact idea, you know.
Yeah, I get you.
Yeah.
Some lighthearted subject. How excited are you about Haiku, the movie coming out next year?
All right, man. So let me hook you up with a little bit of who I am. So I love Haikyuu. For those that don't know, it's a volleyball anime. I don't play volleyball, but I mean, after watching that, you kind of want to play.
Dude,
Yeah.
I watched the whole thing in like 2 weeks. I just hooked.
I
It's one of the
was
best
so-
anime for sure.
I rewatch the entire show every time a new season comes out. So like, season 4 came out, so I was like, I watched 1, 2, and 3. And same thing with 3, same thing with 2, and like every time the season comes out, which has been a second, but so I like it, to say the least, right? But the reason I'm talking about this is like I am a little bit nervous about the fact that they're making a movie, right? Because they had a series planned. They had the whole reason that they're doing a movie is because they had a budget cut, and I'm worried about it because I'm like, I mean, are they? You know what I mean? Like the movie's coming out, which is cool, which is great because anything Haikyuu related, I'm down. But I'm like, but I mean, there's like at least 2 games left. There's, so I don't know.
Whoa! Spoilers! Did you read the manga or no?
I don't read the manga, so
Okay.
yeah, don't say it live, bro. We don't know who's watching. I guess it's not that many people.
I don't know. Yeah.
So, I'm excited to see it because I mean it's Haikyuu, bro. We're doing it, bro. You know what I mean? But I'm just like,
I mean, yeah, that show does give you like motivated. Every time you watch one episode, you feel like, oh, you want to do something afterwards, like you want to be better because that show, the main character, is just so nice.
yeah. It's funny though. Like I think a big issue I had with season 4. I'm not gonna say anything for those that don't watch it. Nothing spoilery, but like I think one of the biggest things about Haikyuu was actually the character interactions, like just the funny comedy moments that happened. Like I think season 2 did that really well. But like something that I really didn't like about season 4 is that it was clear that there's 2 different studios, or at least a couple different studios working on the project, and the quality drop for the slower moments was so drastic. And like I understand it's like non-action, right? It's like they're talking or they're interacting, but like the jokes don't hit as hard, the character moments don't hit as hard. Like the whole reason why we like, at least I like this show, is because of those like slower moments. And I think season 4 kind of like disappointed me on that one. Like it was cool, action wise it was great, but like the character interactions and the story building and stuff was kind of like pushed to the wayside because they were like, oh, let's animate them spiking really hard. I'm like, cool, man. That's it's like it's cool, but it's like it's not. You know what I mean? So I'm passionate about the subject, to say the least.
I didn't even notice so they changed the anime studio for the 4th season.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So the animation studio changed from what they were. I think it was Studio Bones or whoever it was. But super high quality animation, and then they went to a different studio for the action scenes for one, and then they did probably a cheaper studio for the slower like talking moments. Like when people are like walking around, or there's like jokes, or what I mean, not in the middle of a game, basically, right? For low impact moments is kind of what I'm saying, and I feel like they emphasized a lot of the action moments, which is great. I mean, that was cool. But they kind of lost that character interaction, which is basically like, I think for me, one of the bigger parts of that show. Like the reason why I liked it so much was the character interactions, right? Because spiking a ball is dope, but it's the character building and the character moments that really make that show, like for me, really solid. So. But I could be wrong. Who knows? Everyone could totally disagree with me on that one. I am but a boy. So, long story short, Tony, it's I am excited, but I am skeptical.
Sounds good. Sounds good. Yeah, I'm really excited too.
I guess as we're wrapping up, I'd love to kind of mention some stuff. So, for those that don't know, I used to hold plein air painting sessions in LA back in like 2016, all the way to like 19 or something. It was a long time. We went everywhere. And so this coming year, or even at the end of this year, I kind of want to start. So if you guys are, for everybody that's in the LA area or anybody that's around, I'm going to be painting more often, and everybody is welcome to come. Say this on the internet. I mean, we'll see who shows up, but I'm going to make a group inside the Discord, and I'm going to kind of post, where, when, timing, and stuff like that. So if you want to be part of that, I'll post a thing. I'll post a role to kind of get that way. We're not pinging everybody. So if you're not in LA, unfortunately, it is a local thing. So I don't want to like ping everybody that's not part of LA, because it does kind of suck. But I do still want to paint. So we are going to be doing that. If you'd like to be a part of it, just keep an eye out for that in my Discord. If you're watching this, you're not part of my Discord, join the Discord. Inside of there, I'll have a role reaction to kind of join that. Next one that we're having is going to be next Friday, and we're going to Travel Town. So for those that want to go, definitely be around.
Sounds like fun.
Cool.
So
Hopefully I'm in LA sometime and can turn up.
yes, yeah. If you guys are visiting, if anybody is ever visiting, and especially like I think with like Lightbox coming up next year too, I'd love to do a bigger event too with that. But I think it's I've been like in the digital sauce for too long. I've been like behind my desk too much. I just want to like get out and do things. So, but for those of you that are like not here, right? I will say, just start, just do it. I think for me, because it's funny, because like whenever I was in school before, and I was like, hey, I want to do a plein air thing, or I want to plein air more, because every good artist, for whatever reason, paints outside of work. Odd. every good artist that I admire, for whatever reason, has come to the conclusion that painting outside has some sort of benefit to their career, right? So who am I to argue? But the idea is, I kind of wished that there was a group, because before, whenever I started, if you guys have heard of the Weekend Warrior Painters, that wasn't a thing, or it wasn't very big at the time. I mean, it's huge now, so they're doing amazing. They're a bunch of great artists, but at the time, we didn't really have that. Or there wasn't a lot of people going that I knew, so I just kind of didn't go. And so I just called up a bunch of friends, and we just started going, right? We just like, hey, let's just go paint. Just go to a park, go to the beach, go to whatever, and you can just go outside in the middle of the street. It really is like, whoever's around, just call it. Just put it out there. Some people, there are days where I went out there by myself. There's days where there was like 50 people there at one point, I won't say 50, maybe like 20 or 30, right? Basically, more people than I probably thought I knew. And it was great, I think, and I was talking to some friends, and they said they really missed it. And I was like, because I moved away. The reason I stopped in 2019 is I moved to the Bay Area. The Bay Area, and then started. I was plein airing up there with some of my coworkers, but when I came back in the middle of COVID, we just didn't do it anymore, and I kind of want to start it up again. So for those that are like, if you're not around, if you're not in the LA area, there's really nothing stopping you, right? Go out, do things, talk to people, have some friends. Take your wife or whatever on a picnic and just paint while she's eating. But. It really is like something that you can kind of do anywhere. So if you're obviously, you know, if you're not in LA, unfortunately, you know, you won't be with us, but you know, you can do it. You can post it. You know, I'd love to kind of see what you do, you know, so. Riley asks, are you going to paint traditional or iPad on location? I do have an iPad set up, but I am going to try and switch it up every once in a while and do some traditional stuff. I usually did gouache. I'm trying to look at doing something else. I'm not tired of gouache, but I'm like, I always admired watercolors. I just, you know, seeing people do watercolors is like insane. Watercolors is disgustingly hard. If you've ever tried it, it's difficult, to say the least. But I'd like to do different mediums. I've brought like Sharpie and copy paper out there before too. So if you ever like, for anybody like, I guess concerned, they're like, oh, I can't afford paints and stuff. All you need is like just pencil and paper, really, to be honest. And you can do studies, you can participate, you can draw. So, but yeah, so just so everybody knows, just keep an eye out for that. I'll post it coming up soon, probably in the coming week. So if you're not part of the Discord yet, please join. I'd love to have you. If you are part of the Discord, I'll put it in the announcement section once we kind of get there. So.
We've also talked about 3D, given how limited my time is. I feel like there's still a lot that I need to learn in 3D. But I'm not the best artist in the world, and there's still a lot of fundamentals to learn. But would you think that just for the sake of keeping up in the industry, like next year, I should probably just try to prioritize one or the other?
Well,
do you have a recommendation?
What I would recommend and this is for anybody, right? You know, if you're trying to learn 3D, right? Because trying to learn any skill, to be honest. If you're trying to pick up another skill and you find yourself like just lacking time, right? All of us are lacking time because, you know, you're painting, you're working, whatever. What I would do is what I did do, not even what I would do. What I do now is I implement it into my workflow. So, for example, like this painting, right? Whereas like I could have drawn that by hand, or I could have did the silhouette fill just like normal, and then, you know, do the thing that I always do, right? Or you could just paint it up, right, or model it up, right? You can just go in there and create whatever you can, right? Try your best. You know, figure out one tool at a time. You don't know how to model quite yet? Well, learn how to put cubes in place and then use those cubes as perspective for your shot, right? You don't know how to make a specific prop just yet? Well, when you design a prop, just make the prop really quick. Take it as far as you can in 3D in a controlled setting, right? For example, if you're like, oh, hey, I don't really know how to use 3D. I'm going to try to use 3D now, right? Great. What's going to happen is you're probably not going to be able to take it as far as you want. You're not going to know the texture. You're not going to know how to do all these, you know, very specific things that are 3D related. So, you know, spend the day, right? If you have 2 days to work on a project and you know you can paint it in one, spend one day, you know, just making the thing as far as you can in 3D, right? Because you're going to learn one or two tricks that you didn't know before that, where you're like, hey, I didn't really know how to make something. I didn't know how to mirror something, so I learned that modifier real quick. Great, that's one thing that you know for next time, right? And then slowly, right, one thing after the next, while doing your professional work, right? Because you don't have time for personal work, is really what it comes down to. Is during your professional work, you just do a model for one small thing. Like I think the first thing I did at work was like a little treasure chest. I needed to model a chest. And I knew that I couldn't model it 100%, but I just took it as far as I could, rendered it out, and then from there, I just painted the rest. I just used my painting ability to kind of get me through a little bit quicker, and that helped me kind of build enough confidence in my modeling to then start actually designing with 3D models. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So even if it's small, even if it's like a weapon, if you're doing a lot of character work, or if it's like a barrel, you know, just start doing those one little things, because I think like setting aside time separately from the actual, like from your actual assignments takes up a lot of time, because now you're working for 8 hours, and then you're like in your spare time, instead of, I don't know, hanging out with your daughter or wife or whatever, right? You're like, I got to do this tutorial, and that's draining, and that's like a very you know, I guess discouraging fact, right? But if you,
it's been,
you know,
brutal.
if you did it during your 8 hours at work, cool. Now you don't feel guilty anymore. You know what I mean? Like, you're like, oh shit, I already did my 3D for the day. Cool, let's go hang out with family. And you still got work done, and you still learned something that day. You know what I mean?
Okay. Yeah, that's very good advice. Thank you.
Yeah. And for everybody, I mean, I recommend that for literally anything, where it's like, if you don't know how to do something, obviously, if you don't have to do it for work, don't do it. You know what I mean? Like, just, you know what I'm saying? Like, if you don't have to do it for work, like, you're like, I want to learn, I don't know, how to rig something. You're like, why do you want to know how to rig? I don't know. I just thought it'd be cool. Don't do it. Don't waste your time on something that you don't need to know. If, like, obviously, if you want to learn it and you have time, do your thing, right? But if you're like, hey, this is ruining my life because I'm trying to balance my life and trying to learn this new thing that I don't need to learn, don't learn the thing. You know, it doesn't matter. But if you do need to know it because of your work, do it during work. You know what I mean? Obviously, think about your deadlines. If you're really slow already, if you're somebody that is just starting, do not do this. Do not do this. You know, just work, do your thing. You know, if you're having trouble maintaining your deadlines, right? Starting off, just keep going. Get better at doing what you're doing, right? Get faster at working. But once you get to a point to where you're like, you know, you have a 1 week deadline and you can finish it in 4 days instead of 5, use that one day, that one extra bit of time you have to implement the thing that you're learning. That way, you know, for one, you're getting paid to do it, which is amazing, right? You're getting paid to learn 3D, which, if you think about it that way, it's kind of like when you like poop on company time, you got paid for that dump. You know what I mean? It's the same thing with 3D. I don't say it like that, but you know what I mean? Like, you got paid for that thing, so don't go do that thing, you know? And that way, when you get off, you can actually be off, versus, you know, the dread, the mental toll it takes on you to be like, oh man, I have to work on this thing. I can't hang out with who I want to hang out with. I can't do what I want to do, because mentally you have more work to do, which ends up being a really bad, I guess, life scenario to kind of be in, because, you know, now you're always guilt tripping yourself about not learning something, you know?
Yeah, I've been in bad headspace for the last year and a half.
Yeah.
But at least for the time being, it's still not possible, but it's because I only work about 25 hours a week, even like when I'm doing my best to fit it in. But once time is cleared up, that's definitely a good strategy.
Yeah, I mean, you know, you have to like pick your battles, right? Where it's like, you know, if there's a deadline or something and you got to get it done soon, like, yeah, you know, you just do what you need to do, right? But, you know, if there's like, oh yeah, I get a little more time on this, great, take that opportunity, learn that new skill, because yeah, it takes a second, you know. And if you're very proficient in your 2D skills, which, you know, like, I mean, I know you, and it seems like you are, whether you feel like it or not, you know, that's irrelevant. From what I've seen, it looks like you are. You know, it's just whatever time that you need to make up, do it with your make it up with your 2D skills, you know.
Okay. Yeah.
Dope. Riley says, you can have a lot of fun with just a fine liner and one Copic / gray alcohol marker. Hell yeah, dude. I for the longest time I was going out plein airing with just a Sharpie and copy paper, and I went through like a whole ream of paper, and I was just doing graphic studies, because because I think it was Rob Rupel and I was Eitan Zana at the time was doing sorry, John Sweeney was at the time was doing a lot of like graphite sketches. So I did those two things. I was graphite sketching and I was like doing Sharpie stuff, and it really helped. I went out, even though you're not painting, right? But you have to understand, like for those like trying to like go out to plein air painting, you know, can be a couple things where you go out and you paint something beautiful. Great, you know, sure. But you know, what you want to do is really start figuring out like, what do I need to work on? Like, what's the thing that like, what do I need to do? Because there's a million things that you can do when you're out painting on location, right? Because you know, you could do anything, right? You could do a color painting, you can do a grayscale, you can study landscapes, you can study people, you can do whatever, right? But the idea is, you know, go out with a plan. I really was working on graphic read. I was working on my general like foundation ideas, and I was just doing it on location. You know, everyone else was doing what they were doing, but for me, I was doing you know, graphic reads and stuff, and I did that. And then another setup I had was ink, just black ink, and just water, right? Because I used a brush. You'd water it down for your grays, and you have pure black for you know, for black. And I was using that for a little while, and then, you know, I was using graphite at one point, you know, stuff like that. And you know, I've changed it a couple of times. I think gouache is what I gravitate towards more often than not. But you know, it's just depends on what you want to learn, you know. So for anybody, like if you're like, oh, I can't afford paints, well, you don't have to be painting. You know, pencil and paper is really all you need. And then, you know, if you can afford some, you know, nice paints here and there, right? Try it out, see how it goes. And try limited colors. Try like mixing paints. You can do that, dude. It'd be so good. Nice. The sand turned out okay. I was a little worried. I was like, dude, is it going to look sandy at all? Because I think I had like some indications. I was like moving towards the right direction, but now I'm like, I think I kind of got it. I was using like airbrush and like carving, like I was like scooping it out, which was kind of fun. So it sounds kind of gross, but it was yeah. Dope. All right, guys. So just kind of want to walk through some of the ideas that I had here, right? Like something that I did here, I'll show you from what I started, right? And something to understand about just image making as a whole, right, is everything that I've said in like previous weeks, you know, from like the 2D stuff till now, it's all relevant, right? Where, you know, I have this shape here and I'm trying to make it feel like it's like off kilter, the wheels, the suspension's doing its thing. This whole thing is like kind of tilted compared to the car itself. There's a lot of little things happening, but whenever I, you know, kind of went into the painting, I kind of backlit it, right? Because I want them to focus less on the technical things, right? The gears and all that stuff. And I want them to focus on the main silhouette, the silhouette as a whole, right? So when I was looking at this, I was like, cool, I need to make sure that they see this thing is off-road, right? So this gap of light right here, really making that prominent, right? This right there, you know, all of this stuff here, really pushing that graphic read because I need them to see that ground is lit, right? Where, you know, you can kind of see through the bottom of that car because it feels lifted, right? Even though it might sink a little bit deeper or whatever, you know, the whole point is really maintaining that graphic read because when you squint down, it's the first thing you see, right? Even looking at this where, you know, you probably get a read like this and you see like that. This is all dark. This is all light, right? Or at least all this is light. And maintaining those very specific things because something that happens a lot in 3D, right? And I can't emphasize this enough is we get very complacent on, you know, the technology where it's like, oh, I put a light bulb in there. It's perfectly lit, right? It's perfect. There's nothing wrong with it. I need to follow that exactly. But in reality, right, we don't follow physics that closely when it comes to, you know, design, right? When we do paintings and stuff, you know, we'll change things based off of what we need, right? This ground is maybe not 100% physics based, but it is believable. And that is all that's necessary. Something that happens a lot is whenever I get a 3D scene from one of my artists, or whether I'm working with them or they're working for me, it'll be like, oh, there's a light coming through the thing. Great. I'm like, well, then, push it, add a light over here, do this thing, make that graphic read pop, because just like a movie set, right? They'll make this work. Whether it's realistic or not, who knows? But if you've ever seen a movie set, chances are most of the lights that you see are not real, right? Maybe there's some like Revenant where it's like they shot this completely natural, whatever. Even then, like the fireplaces and the angles and stuff were placed accordingly so they can get a read on, right? But for here, if you need something to kind of pop up, or it's like, oh, I can't really, there's a weird mound of sand underneath here, so we can't like get that to show up, just fake it. They'll put a light over there to make it happen, right? And we want to think the same way, because we're designing for that medium. We don't need to follow physics. We need to create the best, most impactful read that tells our story, right? So even though I had a light scenario that was accurate, like with the shadow here, the cast shadow down here, right? I kind of altered a lot of it so I can like pull away attention, right? I can change things and be artistic about what I'm trying to say here. So whenever you take your models, or even for your normal stuff, try to really push that thinking. The lighting design and stuff, yes, you can do a lot of it in 3D, but you don't really want to stop there, right? If you're not really used to just faking light sources or creating graphic reads based off of what you need rather than what's like available, you want to really kind of think through that and be like, I'll just put a light over here, just make it happen, because in reality, it doesn't really matter, right? Especially where like, I put some atmosphere right here because I needed this separation between this kind of front headlight area versus the kind of, I don't know, like wheel cover section, right? I really wanted that separation because in the original, it's not really there, right? And I'm kind of losing some of that graphic read. And so I'll kind of push some of those ideas. That way we get a better graphic read on things. And I try to do it as much as possible. That's a 2D thought, not a 3D thing. You can do it in 3D, but you have to understand why you're doing it, right? So just a little bit of insight on that, right? Really nothing too special, right? 3D does do a lot of the heavy lifting in terms of, the forms and various things like that. But when you go into 2D, just remember, you're still trying to achieve the same ideas that we talk about in a 2D image making process. So try not to forget those things. Try not to let 3D handle the image for you, because chances are it won't. Or you'll miss a lot of the stuff that is really necessary for this thing to really look that good, right? Even this is still a ways away from it being truly amazing. But right now it's good enough for me to like show a client, be like, hey, this is like a medium level, 70% painting. What do you think? And then from there, I can spend my the rest of my days rendering every little nut and bolt in here, So, well, cool, guys. We're 3 minutes away. I just kind of wanted to, spend a little bit of time and just talk. Thank you for everyone that's been watching these last 8 weeks, 9 weeks, 9 weeks plus the week 0, right? And I think this is gonna keep going. This first round, the rest basically, from what I said in the beginning, this first round is a kind of trial run, right? I was kind of ironing some things out. I was figuring out what works and what doesn't. The next structure that's coming in January 9th, the way we're going to be running that, very similar, just with some minor tweaks for various reasons that I felt is more necessary to kind of get this to be a little more efficient, a little more professionally run, various things like that. So hopefully this next year, we kind of iron out some more of the stuff, and the process becomes a little bit better. But I kind of wanted to do this as kind of a warm-up round, right? To kind of see how we can get people interacting, how we can get people participating, right? Next year, it's going to be more of a participating thing. I want this to be a cheaper way to still receive class. Some of us, can't, take classes and stuff at, certain price points and stuff, and that's totally understandable. You know, and so I want this to kind of be a good look into how a professional actually works, because I think we're missing a lot of that, right? Where, you know, we kind of learn some things, but we actually don't do that in a professional pipeline for A, B, and C reason. So, you know, I kind of want to show a little bit of that. Next year, we're going to be kind of taking things chunk by chunk. You know, the first topic I already have planned out. We're going to be doing some prop designs. We're going to keep it kind of chill for that first round. So if you're interested, be ready, right? January 9th is when we start. We're going to have 4 weeks of a planned kind of course. And hopefully by the end of it, you know, you have something presentable, right? It's going to end, that section is going to end on January 30th. I'll have more things posted inside the Discord as we get closer. Feedback is going to be a little bit different. I'll talk about that in the Discord with the people that are going to be participating. But it is going to be a membership status. It's going to be something that you do have to pay to participate, right? It's not going to be a class price, but there's going to be a level of, you know, just a membership to kind of get full-on painting feedbacks. It's going to be a little more class focused, you know, like I guess more closer to a class structure. The way I want to go about it is if you would like feedback, right, on your work, you can follow along for free. Like if you're just going, you can post it if you like. But if you would like full paint over feedbacks, there is going to be a membership for that. And you're going to get, you know, every week you'll get a full paint over on whatever designs you did for all 4 of those weeks, right? So if it is something that you're interested in, definitely join my Discord, and you know, I'd love to have you. But with that in mind, guys, you know, thank you so much for watching this, you know, these last 9 weeks, and hopefully, you know, we get a whole solid next year, right? We were kind of going through this kind of weird like winter break time, so you know, it's gonna be hopefully a lot less kind of chopped up this next at least for the next 6 months, you know. So but yeah, guys, so if there's anything else, that's all I got for you. We'll you know, see you in 2024. So real quick, so I forgot, I did open a coffee account. I did get some requests, but if you were somebody that watched this in the last 9 weeks, you know, and I said something that maybe really helped you out or you really appreciate, there's a link in the description for my coffee account. You can, you know, give me a tip, buy me a coffee, whatever it is. But you know, a little bit really does go a long way. You know, it is something that if you felt like, you know, you received some good information and you wanted to kind of give back in some sort of way, you know, you can buy me a coffee. So, but yeah, just check that link in the description, and yeah, you can go from there. So with that in mind, guys, thank you so much for watching, and yeah, I'll see you in 2024.